Operation Northwoods was a proposed plan developed by the United States Department of Defense in 1962. The aim of this operation was to create a series of events that would justify the U.S. government taking military action against Cuba, which was under the leadership of Fidel Castro. The context of this proposal is crucial for understanding the geopolitical climate of the early 1960s. During this time, the Cold War was at its peak. The U.S. was deeply concerned about the influence of communism, especially in the Caribbean and Latin America. Cuba, just a short distance from the shores of Florida, had become a symbol of communist resistance after the Cuban Revolution in 1959, when Fidel Castro overthrew the U.S.-backed dictator Fulgencio Batista. The threat of a communist regime so close to American soil was alarming to many government officials. The detailed plans outlined in Operation Northwoods included a range of deceptive tactics, designed to manipulate public perception and rally support for military intervention against Cuba. One of the more notable components of this plan suggested conducting simulated attacks on U.S. military installations, which could potentially be blamed on the Cuban government. These actions were intended to create a narrative that Cuba was aggressive and posed a direct threat to the United States. Among the various strategies proposed, there were ideas for creating false flag incidents, where the U.S. would conduct covert operations while posing as Cuban aggressors. For instance, officials considered the idea of staging terrorist attacks in U.S. cities and attributing them to the Cuban government. This could include bombings or even attacks against American flag vessels in the Gulf of Mexico. The hope was that such incidents would evoke strong public outrage and provide the government with a justification for military action. Additionally, there were plans suggested for the use of propaganda to sway American public opinion. The creation of fake news stories portraying Cuba as a significant threat was seen as a means to garner support for military intervention. The proposed actions were extensive, illustrating the lengths to which some officials were willing to go in order to eliminate what they perceived as a significant threat. Despite the urgency behind these plans, Operation Northwoods was never approved or executed. The proposals were ultimately rejected by President John F. Kennedy and his administration. Kennedy was not only wary of escalating tensions with the Soviet Union, but was also concerned about the moral implications of engaging in deceitful tactics against the American public and abroad. While the plan was never put into action, its mere existence raises important questions about ethics in government decision-making, especially in times of crisis. The revelation of Operation Northwoods years later sparked discussions about the role of deception and manipulation in international relations. Today, Operation Northwoods is often cited in debates about government transparency, accountability, and the lengths to which a government might go to achieve its objectives. The ethical dilemmas posed by such operations continue to resonate in discussions about national security and foreign policy. It serves as a historical example that keeps the conversation alive about the moral responsibilities of leaders in times of conflict. The Cold War era was marked by a host of covert operations and maneuvers, as both the United States and the Soviet Union sought to outmaneuver one another on the global stage. While Operation Northwoods is one of the more extreme proposals, it reflects a broader pattern of how states can justify questionable actions in the name of national security. In conclusion, Operation Northwoods stands as a provocative case study in the theater of international relations. It highlights the precarious balance between national security and moral integrity, raising lingering questions about the necessary lengths a government may consider for its own interests. Understanding this part of history encourages deeper reflection on the ethics of statecraft and the importance of accountability in governance. Establishing a responsible framework for decision-making in turbulent times is essential for ensuring that power is exercised judiciously. Through discussions of events like Operation Northwoods, societies can learn valuable lessons about the implications of government actions and the importance of transparency. During the Cold War, a fascinating chapter in the realm of intelligence gathering unfolded as the Central Intelligence Agency embarked on a series of experiments known as Project Stargate. This initiative aimed to explore the enigmatic abilities of the human mind, specifically focusing on what is commonly referred to as psychic phenomena. The project sought to determine whether individuals could harness their mental faculties to gather information from afar, effectively acting as spies, utilizing abilities that transcended conventional means. The roots of Project Stargate trace back to the early 1970s, driven by the CIA's desire to gain an edge in the ongoing geopolitical tensions with the Soviet Union. While traditional espionage methods such as surveillance and reconnaissance were the norm, the agency began to investigate alternative approaches that could potentially offer new insights. Interest in the paranormal was gaining traction, spurred in part by a burgeoning curiosity in parapsychology, the scientific study of psychic phenomena. Initially, Project Stargate drew inspiration from the work of various scientists and psychologists who were studying extrasensory perception, or especially. This term encompasses a range of supposed abilities, including telepathy, the ability to read minds, clairvoyance, and psychokinesis, the ability to move objects with one's mind. These concepts, while often met with skepticism, fueled an atmosphere of exploration and wonder within the intelligence community. Among the notable figures associated with Project Stargate was Dr. Russell Targ, a physicist and parapsychologist. Targ, along with his colleague Harold Puthoff, conducted experiments at the Stanford Research Institute to examine the feasibility of remote viewing, a practice believed to enable individuals to perceive distant or unseen targets through mental focus. In one instance, individuals involved in these experiments demonstrated an ability to provide detailed descriptions of hidden objects or locations, seemingly without any physical means of observation. These success stories generated excitement and led the CIA to enhance its interest in the program. Despite the intrigue surrounding these experiments, it was imperative for the CIA to approach the subject matter with a degree of skepticism. This led to the establishment of rigorous testing protocols and methodologies aimed at ensuring that results were not merely the product of chance or suggestion. Researchers conducted double-blind studies, wherein participants were tested without prior knowledge of the target or scenario. This design helped confirm that any possible successful outcomes could not be attributed to external cues. Project Stargate attracted a diverse group of individuals who were investigated for their purported abilities. Some participants were trained psychics, while others were everyday individuals who claimed to possess heightened intuition. As testing continued, the project broadened its scope to include various techniques, such as meditative practices and altered states of consciousness, believed to facilitate these extraordinary capabilities. As the Cold War progressed, project outcomes varied and yielded mixed results. While some sessions produced remarkable insights, others fell flat, leading to ongoing debates about the validity and reliability of psychic abilities. Critics pointed out the challenges in replicating successes reliably, casting shadows of doubt over the project. Nonetheless, there were compelling anecdotes that kept interest alive, showcasing moments that seemed to defy rational explanation. The shift in focus from the Cold War to a broader understanding of intelligence gathering led to a reevaluation of Project Stargate. By the 1990s, the project was eventually terminated, with many within the intelligence community questioning the practical applications of the findings. However, the allure of exploring human consciousness continued to resonate even after its official conclusion. In the years that followed, Project Stargate's legacy did not fade entirely. The ideas and techniques developed during this time continued to inform both scientific inquiry into psychic phenomena and popular culture. Books, documentaries, and films have since explored the themes surrounding the project, often reimagining the narratives of espionage and the unexplained abilities of the mind in creative ways. Today, the story of Project Stargate remains a captivating testimony to both the possibilities and limits of human potential. It highlights an era in which the intersection of science, psychology, and the quest for intelligence revealed a fascinating yet often puzzling exploration into the human experience. The project ultimately serves as a reminder that curiosity about the unknown can lead to profound questions about reality, perception, and the capabilities we possess within ourselves. As we reflect on the legacy left by Project Stargate, it's essential to consider the broader implications of this exploration into human consciousness. The quest for understanding the mind and its hidden powers continues to be a source of fascination, inspiring future generations of researchers, innovators, and thinkers to delve into the mysteries that lie unearthed. This enduring spirit of inquiry propels the search for knowledge, urging us to keep questioning, exploring, and embracing the unknown possibilities that life presents. The MKUltra Program, which ran from the early 1950s to the mid-1970s, represents one of the most controversial chapters in the history of American intelligence and science. Initiated by the Central Intelligence Agency, also known as the CIA, MKUltra aimed to explore methods of mind control and psychological manipulation. The objective was straightforward but profoundly unsettling: to find ways to influence human behavior and thought processes, particularly in the context of interrogation and espionage. One of the most well-known elements of the MKUltra program was its focus on using drugs as tools for mind control. The CIA conducted experiments using various substances, including LSD, a psychedelic drug that gained notoriety for its mind-altering effects. Researchers believed that by administering these substances, they could unlock the potential to manipulate thoughts and actions, an idea rooted in the hope that chemical compounds could facilitate greater control over the human mind. The experiments were carried out in secret, often without the consent of the individuals involved. Many subjects were unwitting participants, leading to ethical concerns that echo through to today. The use of LSD was particularly alarming, as it was administered in various settings, from hospitals to military installations, sometimes mixed with other substances to amplify its effects. Imagine being in a room, having no idea that your mental and emotional state was being altered by a drug administered without your consent. That's the level of disregard for individual autonomy that characterized some of these experiments. In addition to drugs, MKUltra also explored the use of hypnosis. Hypnosis has long been a subject of fascination, often portrayed in popular culture as a means of inducing compliance or altering states of consciousness. The MKUltra program sought to determine whether hypnosis could be used to retrieve memories or implant false ones. Researchers experimented with different techniques, observing how subjects reacted under hypnosis. The aim was to discover whether it's possible to take control of a person's mind through suggestion and manipulation while they were in a deeply relaxed state. The ethical dimensions of these experiments cannot be overstated. The lack of informed consent stands out as one of the most troubling aspects of the program. Many individuals involved were either unaware of the experiments or misled about their purpose. This raises significant questions about the balance between national security interests and individual rights. When does the pursuit of knowledge cross the line into exploitation? The MKUltra program serves as a powerful reminder of the potential for abuse in the name of scientific advancement. Over time, details about MKUltra began to emerge, leading to public outcry and governmental investigations. In the mid-1970s, revelations about the program prompted widespread concern among the American public, particularly as reports about the program's unethical practices surfaced. Investigative journalists and politicians sought to uncover the truth. Eventually, the Church Committee, a U.S. Senate committee, conducted hearings to examine the extent of the CIA's activities, including MKUltra. The legacy of the MKUltra program extends beyond its operations in the 20th century. It has had significant implications for the fields of psychology, ethics in research, and public trust in government institutions. The discussions around informed consent, ethical treatment of subjects, and the moral obligations of researchers continue to resonate today. It challenges future generations to consider how to navigate the complex interplay between discovery and ethical considerations. Even now, the subject of MKUltra evokes curiosity and profound concern. Popular culture has taken an interest in the program, producing books, documentaries, and films that explore its depth and ramifications. It serves as a cautionary tale about the potential for government overreach, human rights violations, and the ethical dilemmas facing researchers who push the boundaries of scientific inquiry. The story of MKUltra also highlights the importance of transparency in governmental operations and the necessity for robust ethical frameworks in research. As society continues to grapple with advancements in psychology, neuroscience, and technology, the lessons from this era remain relevant. How do we ensure that the quest for knowledge does not come at the expense of individual rights? How do we safeguard against the potential misuse of powerful techniques that can influence thought and behavior? Furthermore, the implications of MKUltra extend into contemporary discussions about mental health, addiction, and the impact of substances on the mind. As the effects of various drugs on human behavior are better understood, the lessons learned from MKUltra can guide current practices in research and treatment. It underscores the importance of ethical oversight and the necessity of prioritizing the welfare of individuals who participate in research studies. In the end, the MKUltra program serves as a reminder of humanity's capacity for both remarkable innovation and potential for ethical failure. It challenges us to remain vigilant, to question the motives behind research, and to prioritize the well-being of individuals above the unbridled pursuit of knowledge. By reflecting on the past, we can create a future that honors ethical standards and respects the inherent dignity of every person. The shadows of MKUltra remind us of the need for accountability and integrity in all endeavors that touch the human mind and spirit. The Manhattan Project stands as one of the most significant scientific endeavors in history, a secretive undertaking during World War II that ultimately birthed nuclear weapons. To fully appreciate the project, it is essential to understand the historical context of the time. World War II raged across the globe, and nations were racing to gain an advantage over their adversaries. Amidst this tumult, in the early 1940s, American scientists were deeply concerned about the possibility that Nazi Germany might develop its nuclear weapon first. This fear, combined with the potential for nuclear energy as a force for immense destruction, led to the formation of the project. In 1938, the discovery of nuclear fission by German physicists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann ignited international interest. They found that the nucleus of an atom could be split, releasing an enormous amount of energy. This revelation prompted the scientific community to consider not only the theoretical implications, but also the practical applications, and soon calls to harness this power for national defense echoed across laboratories and universities. In 1942, amidst growing urgency, the U.S. government initiated the Manhattan Project under the direction of the Army Corps of Engineers, with physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer being appointed as the scientific director. The name Manhattan Project stemmed from the Manhattan District of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, reflecting its origins in New York City, where early planning began. The project's headquarters was established at Los Alamos, New Mexico, a remote site chosen for its isolation and secrecy. The scope of the project was vast, necessitating the collaboration of thousands of scientists, engineers, and technicians. Many of these individuals were drawn from prestigious universities, including notable figures such as Enrico Fermi, Richard Feynman, and Niels Bohr. These scientists were not only tasked with theoretical research, but also with practical applications, developing techniques for uranium enrichment and creating designs for the nuclear weapon itself. The Manhattan Project operated in secrecy, and its true objectives were known to only a select few. Efforts were made to conceal its activities from other countries and even from many individuals within the United States. The project demanded significant funding and resources, leading to extensive government investment that equated to billions of dollars in today's terms. One of the major hurdles faced was obtaining sufficient fissile material for the bomb. Uranium-235 and plutonium-239 were identified as viable materials. The process to enrich uranium, particularly, was complex and required innovative designs. The most notable method involved gaseous diffusion, enabling the separation of isotopes using a series of barriers and high-speed fans. Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee became a key site for this enrichment, housing vast facilities and employing thousands of workers, often without knowledge of the overall purpose. In parallel, the project team explored the use of plutonium as a nuclear explosive. The production of plutonium required nuclear reactors, and a significant milestone was achieved in 1942 with the first controlled nuclear chain reaction led by Fermi at the University of Chicago. This success laid the foundation for the creation of the first plutonium bomb, which would be tested later. On July 16, 1945, the culmination of the Manhattan Project reached a profound moment in history during the Trinity test in the New Mexico desert. Here, a test bomb dubbed the Gadget was detonated, marking humanity's first glimpse of a nuclear explosion. The explosion produced a brilliant flash and a mushroom cloud that ascended into the sky, a pivotal event watched by project scientists with a mix of awe and apprehension. The success of the test validated years of intense research and labor, but it also amplified fears about the implications of nuclear weapons. To hasten the end of the war, the United States made the strategic decision to deploy these weapons. In August 1945, atomic bombs were dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The destruction was devastating, resulting in immense loss of life and long-lasting effects from radiation exposure. The bombings contributed to Japan's surrender, ultimately bringing an end to World War II. However, the usage of atomic weapons sparked a profound ethical debate that continues to this day, questioning the morality of deploying such devastating power. In the aftermath of the Manhattan Project, the world was irrevocably transformed. The creation of nuclear weapons ushered in the atomic age, leading to an arms race during the Cold War and shaping global geopolitics. The project also spurred advancements in nuclear energy, but the specter of nuclear warfare loomed large over subsequent generations. The Manhattan Project remains a testament to human ingenuity, the pursuit of knowledge, and the complex interplay of science and morality. Its legacy serves as a reminder of both the extraordinary capabilities of human innovation and the profound responsibilities that accompany such breakthroughs. Today, discussions surrounding nuclear proliferation and disarmament are ongoing, as nations grapple with the ramifications of what was once considered a necessary act of wartime. The story of the Manhattan Project endures, encapsulating the triumphs and tribulations of an unparalleled scientific undertaking in pursuit of national security. The lessons learned from this period continue to shape discussions on warfare, ethics, and the potential within scientific discovery. Deep in the Nevada desert lies a site shrouded in secrecy and intrigue. This site, known as Area 51, has captivated the imagination of countless individuals around the world. Officially, Area 51 is a highly classified U.S. Air Force facility, primarily dedicated to the development and testing of experimental aircraft and advanced military technologies. However, its remote location and the veil of secrecy surrounding it have led to a plethora of theories and speculations about its true purpose. The history of Area 51 dates back to the 1950s, primarily associated with the U-2 spy plane program. This top-secret project aimed to gather intelligence during the Cold War, providing crucial information about the capabilities of potential adversaries. The secluded desert location offered the perfect backdrop for developing and testing aircraft without prying eyes. As time progressed, other programs followed, including the development of the State Route 71 Blackbird and various unmanned aerial vehicles, which pushed the boundaries of aviation and reconnaissance. However, the enigmatic nature of Area 51 has spawned numerous urban legends and conspiracy theories. Some enthusiasts assert that the facility is home to extraterrestrial technology, claiming that recovered alien spacecraft and beings are stored and studied within its walls. This notion was fueled by alleged sightings of unidentified flying objects in the vicinity of the base and testimonies from individuals who believe they have encountered aliens or witnessed classified operations involving extraterrestrial materials. Moreover, the government's strict control over information regarding Area 51 has only stoked the flames of curiosity. Visitors to the nearby towns of Rachel and Heiko often share tales of mysterious lights and unusual aircraft flying overhead. The allure of this enigmatic base continues to attract tourists, conspiracy theorists, and even the curious about what truly happens behind the secured gates of Area 51. As technology progresses, so does the interest in what classified operations might take place at this facility. Some speculate that while the original purpose was centered around traditional military aircraft, the focus has shifted towards cutting-edge technologies involving drones, cyber warfare, and advanced weapons systems. The increasing reliance on technology in modern warfare means that facilities like Area 51 play a critical role in maintaining a strategic advantage. Additionally, the realm of stealth technology has become one of the defining aspects of modern military operations. Area 51 has been at the forefront of these advancements, serving as a testing ground for aircraft designed to evade detection by radar and other surveillance systems. This pursuit of invisibility has revolutionized air combat and intelligence-gathering missions, leading to significant breakthroughs in aviation design. The secrecy surrounding Area 51 has led to numerous government disclosures over the years, albeit often heavily redacted. Declassified documents have provided glimpses into the facility's operations and the types of aircraft developed there, but the full extent of its endeavors remains largely protected from public view. This lingering mystery keeps people searching for answers, leading to documentaries, novels, and films, revolving around the concept of hidden technology and government secrets. The influence of Area 51 extends beyond military applications and into popular culture. Movies and television shows frequently incorporate elements of the facility, often depicting it as a hub of alien activity and government cover-ups. This cultural obsession provides a fascinating lens through which to view the intersection of fact, fiction, and the human fascination with the unknown. While many of the theories surrounding Area 51 veer into the realm of the fantastical, the reality of the operations conducted within this facility is undoubtedly significant. The advancements in aviation and military technology that have emerged from this area have had far-reaching implications, impacting global security dynamics and the ongoing battle for air supremacy. As we contemplate the activities at Area 51, it's essential to recognize the blend of fascination and skepticism that it inspires. The combination of historical achievements, cutting-edge technology, and an air of mystery ensures that Area 51 will continue to be a point of interest for generations to come. Whether viewed as a hub of government innovation or a source of wild conspiracy theories, the legacy of Area 51 remains intertwined with the exploration of the unknown, beckoning all who seek to uncover the secrets of human ingenuity and the vastness of our universe. It stands as a testament to both the advances we strive to achieve and the mysteries we may never fully understand. As the sun sets over the vast Nevada landscape, the shadows of Area 51 grow long, and the whispers of its secrets linger in the desert air, filling our minds with questions about what truly lies behind its guarded gates. The journey into the realm of the unknown continues, and with it, the exploration of the human spirit, an unquenchable desire to seek, discover, and understand. Operation Paperclip was a secret program initiated by the United States during the turbulent period immediately following World War II. As the war drew to a close, the world was left to grapple with the devastation and the consequences of conflict. However, amidst this chaos, one of the lesser-known yet significant actions involved the recruitment of German scientists, engineers, and technicians, many of whom had worked for the Nazi regime. This covert operation aimed to leverage their expertise for American scientific advancement and military superiority during the Cold War. The origins of Operation Paperclip can be traced back to the intense competition between the United States and the Soviet Union. As both superpowers sought to emerge as leaders, the development of technologies in rocketry, aviation, and other fields became a top priority. The Germans had made remarkable advancements during the war, particularly in rocketry under the leadership of Wernher von Braun, who later became a pivotal figure in NASA's Apollo program. In the immediate aftermath of the war, American military personnel began identifying individuals with crucial skills and knowledge that could benefit the U.S. efforts in science and technology. With the rapid rise of geopolitical tensions, the fear of Soviet access to German scientists played a significant role in the decision to recruit these individuals. The U.S. government, under the auspices of various intelligence agencies, began to orchestrate a systematic way to bring these scientists to America. The operation was shrouded in secrecy, often requiring the falsification of documents to obscure the perpetrator's past. Many of these scientists had been members of the Nazi Party or had contributed to the war effort in some capacity. As the U.S. sought to safeguard its interests, ethical considerations regarding the recruitment of former members of a regime responsible for heinous war crimes were often overlooked. In total, Operation Paperclip brought over 1,600 German scientists and their families to the United States. These individuals were assigned to various military and civilian projects, contributing significantly to advancements in multiple fields. Wernher von Braun, perhaps the most well-known among them, played a critical role in the development of the V-2 rocket for Germany, and later became instrumental in the United States' space exploration efforts, helping to launch the first American satellite and eventually leading the Saturn V project that enabled humans to land on the moon. This operation was not without controversy. Public sentiment was divided. While many celebrated the scientific advancements and national security benefits derived from their expertise, others raised concerns about the moral implications of providing refuge and support to individuals who had participated in the Nazi regime. The complexity of such historical events forces us to consider the interplay between ethical responsibility and the pursuit of technological progress. The legacy of Operation Paperclip is multifaceted. It initiated a significant transformation in the U.S. military and space endeavors. Technological innovations, particularly in rocketry, heavily influenced the Cold War and the subsequent space race. The early successes of U.S. space missions can be traced back to the contributions of these scientists, whose backgrounds and motivations were often overshadowed by their scientific prowess. In addition to rocketry, many of the scientists involved made advancements in various sectors, including medicine and engineering. Their contributions paved the way for developments in fields such as chemical and biological engineering, contributing to the broader scientific landscape in the United States. Moreover, Operation Paperclip serves as a case study on the moral implications of espionage, the blending of scientific achievement with historical ethics, and the balance of power during a critical juncture in world history. It prompts us to reflect on the lengths to which nations may go to secure advancements deemed vital for national security, even when complex moral issues arise. As we look back at Operation Paperclip, it becomes evident that history is rarely a simple narrative of heroes and villains. The scientists brought to the U.S. under this initiative were products of their time, and their actions were intertwined with the broader global conflict that reshaped the world in the 20th century. Confronting this history sheds light on the ethical challenges we continue to face in science, technology, and international relations today. Ultimately, the story of Operation Paperclip is a poignant reminder of how the past can influence the future. While it illuminated a path for technological advancements, it also highlights the necessity of grappling with the complex legacies of those who have shaped our modern world. As we navigate through the advancements of today, it is essential to keep these historical lessons in mind, weighing the benefits of progress against the deeper moral implications that such choices entail. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean lies a story steeped in intrigue, espionage, and ambition. Welcome to the fascinating tale of the Glomar Explorer, a ship that became a key player in one of the most secretive missions in history. This is the account of a bold endeavor that sought to uncover the remains of a sunken Soviet submarine, showcasing a unique blend of technology and espionage. The year was 1968, a time of significant tension between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Both superpowers were engaged in not only a nuclear arms race, but also an intense competition for technological superiority. In this backdrop of political rivalry, the United States faced a profound challenge when the Soviet submarine K-129 sank under mysterious circumstances. The K-129 was a Gulf II-class submarine, and its mission was shrouded in secrecy, making it an object of interest for American intelligence agencies. The loss of the K-129, located approximately 1,500 miles northwest of Hawaii, was seen as an opportunity by the United States. This sunken vessel was believed to carry vital information, nuclear missiles, classified documents, and perhaps even the remains of crew members that could shed light on Soviet military capabilities. To recover the submarine and its potential treasures, the CIA launched a daring plan known as Project Azorian. Enter the Glomar Explorer, a specially designed ship built not for simple oceanic exploration, but for an extraordinary mission that blended science with espionage. Constructed by the Howard Hughes Company, the vessel had the appearance of a research ship, outfitted with high-tech equipment to conduct deep-sea recovery operations. It was a marvel of engineering, featuring a unique claw-like device called the MUSCL, Manned Underwater Recovery Vehicle and System, designed to retrieve large objects from the ocean floor. In 1974, after years of preparation and millions of dollars in funding, the Glomar Explorer set sail on its covert mission. The operation was cloaked in secrecy, so much so that its official cover story claimed it was a deep-sea mining project, searching for valuable minerals on the ocean floor. This ingenious ruse allowed the mission to proceed without raising undue suspicion from the Soviet Union. As the ship navigated the Pacific, the crew bore the weight of their unique and perilous mission. Bonded by a shared sense of purpose and secrecy, they worked tirelessly, deploying an array of sonar technology and remotely operated vehicles to locate the wreckage of the K-129. Tension was palpable as days turned into weeks. The ocean posed countless challenges, and every moment was fraught with uncertainty. Finally, after extensive searching, the Glomar Explorer discovered the submarine's remains nearly 16,000 feet below the surface. What followed was an extraordinary feat of engineering. Using the MUSCL, the crew attempted to recover portions of the submarine. In an operation carefully monitored and executed, they managed to raise about 40 feet of the K-129, along with some of its contents. Inside this segment, they found documents and items that provided the United States with insights into Soviet operations, including the capabilities and limitations of their submarine fleet. However, the recovery was not without its complications. The operation was fraught with risks, and the Glomar Explorer faced significant challenges during the retrieval process. The ocean currents and pressure at such depths made the task incredibly difficult. Despite these hurdles, a combination of remarkable human ingenuity and advanced technology allowed the mission to yield some results. Once the operation concluded, the true nature of the Glomar Explorer mission remained shrouded in secrecy for years. The public was unaware of the actual events until the late 1990s, when former CIA officials began to share details of what had transpired beneath the waves. The Glomar Explorer was no ordinary research vessel. It was a symbol of Cold War operations, intelligence gathering, recovery, and advanced maritime engineering all rolled into one. The legacy of the Glomar Explorer and Project Azorian transcends the simple tale of a ship recovering a sunken submarine. It embodies the spirit of innovation during the Cold War and highlights the lengths to which nations would go to protect their interests and understand their adversaries. The blending of technology, maritime adventure, and covert operations unfortunately remains a significant feature of international relations. In the end, while the Glomar Explorer fulfilled its mission to a degree, the operation also remained a testament to the risks and limitations of human ambition. The ocean is a mysterious domain, full of stories and secrets, and the Glomar Explorer's venture into its depths opened a chapter in history that is still captivating today. This tale of adventure, secrecy, and innovation invites us to look deeper into the ocean's abyss and into the heart of human endeavor. As history continues to unfold, the story of the Glomar Explorer reminds us that the quest for knowledge often comes with great challenges, but the pursuit of understanding remains a fundamental trait of humanity. In the depths of the Cold War, a clandestine operation emerged from the shadows, one that would become known as Project Azorian. This secret mission, initiated by the Central Intelligence Agency, had one primary goal: to raise a sunken Soviet submarine from the Pacific Ocean floor. The submarine in question was the K-129, a Gulf II-class vessel that had mysteriously sunk in 1968, taking with it crucial military secrets and the lives of its crew. As the world was divided into two opposing superpowers, the recovery of this submarine was not just a matter of salvaging a ship, it was a race against time to acquire intelligence that could shift the balance of power. The K-129 sank approximately 1,500 miles north of Hawaii in water over 16,000 feet deep. A large-scale recovery operation required sophisticated technology and impeccable secrecy to avoid drawing attention from the Soviets, who were keenly aware of any unusual developments in the region. The CIA knew that retrieving this submarine could provide insights into Soviet technology and military capabilities that were otherwise inaccessible. To carry out such a complex task, the CIA devised an intricate cover story. They collaborated with the engineering firm Howard Hughes to build a specially designed ship named the Glomar Explorer. Officially, the ship's purpose was to explore and recover manganese nodules from the ocean floor, but in reality, it was outfitted with advanced equipment aimed at locating and raising the K-129. As preparations began, a fascinating blend of espionage and engineering unfolded. The Glomar Explorer was equipped with a unique grappling device designed to latch onto the submarine so that it could be lifted from the depths. The team faced numerous hurdles, from technical difficulties to the sheer unpredictability of the ocean environment, all while ensuring that their true intentions remained hidden from prying eyes. In July 1974, after years of preparation and planning, the Glomar Explorer embarked on its covert mission. The operation was executed under a shroud of secrecy, with a crew that was largely unaware of the true purpose of their voyage. As the Explorer arrived at the designated coordinates, the tension was palpable. Would the operation yield the desired results, or would it end in failure? Once the grappling device was deployed, it was a waiting game. It took several hours of painstaking work before the recovery team could confirm contact with the wreck. As they began to pull it up, they were unaware of the important materials and potential intelligence that lay in the depths. Eventually, a part of the submarine broke the surface of the water, and what happened next would remain shrouded in secrecy for decades. The recovered sections of the K-129 were transported to a specially designated location at an undisclosed site, where intelligence analysts would begin the meticulous work of studying and cataloging the materials found. They discovered equipment and materials that provided valuable insights into Soviet submarines, missile technology, and their overall military strategy. However, the mission had its complications. The operation was plagued by unexpected challenges, and not everything went as planned. While Project Azorian operated flawlessly in some aspects, the sheer scale of the operation meant that some aspects were inevitably less than perfect. For example, part of the submarine, including human remains of the crew, was never recovered. This fact added complexity to the mission, as the U.S. government needed to consider the humanitarian implications of their operation and the ethical dilemmas of dealing with annihilated lives. Decades later, Project Azorian would emerge from the shadows, revealing insights and stories that fascinated historians, military experts, and the general public alike. It stood as a testament to the lengths that nations would go to in their pursuit of intelligence and the advancement of technology during one of the most intense periods of rivalry in modern history. Moreover, this operation highlighted not only the technical prowess of American engineers and intelligence officers, but also the broader context of the Cold War, where every secret, every piece of information, and every technological edge could mean the difference between national security and vulnerability. The echoes of Project Azorian remind us that the quest for knowledge, especially regarding our adversaries, is often cloaked in secrecy and urgency. The intricate layers of deception and ingenuity employed in this operation reflect the complex relationship between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Each step taken in the recovery effort, each challenge overcome, told a broader story of a time when the world was on the brink of both heightened tension and technological advancement. Ultimately, Project Azorian is more than just a tale of a sunken submarine. It symbolizes the relentless pursuit of knowledge and the intricate dance between engineering, espionage, and geopolitics that defined an entire era. The lessons learned from this audacious mission continue to influence how nations approach intelligence efforts and military innovation in today's world. Even as we look back on such secretive operations, we must remember the human stories intertwined within them, the lives lost, the history made, and the enduring impact of these events that continue to shape our global landscape. The narrative of Project Azorian invites us to reflect on the complexities of national security, the ethical considerations of intelligence work, and the intricate ways that history unfolds beneath the waves of time. In the early years of the Cold War, the United States faced a significant challenge in gathering intelligence about the Soviet Union. Heightened tensions between the two superpowers led to an arms race and a need for reliable information regarding military capabilities and intentions. This is where the U-2 spy plane program came into play, innovative in its design and unprecedented in its capability. The U-2, developed by Lockheed in the 1950s, was designed specifically for high-altitude reconnaissance flights. Its long wings and sleek design allow it to soar well above the reach of enemy defenses, flying at altitudes of around 70,000 feet, significantly higher than conventional aircraft. Imagine a flying machine gliding high above the clouds, where the atmosphere is thin and the curvature of the Earth is visible. The U-2 could capture detailed photographs and gather signals intelligence, which was crucial for understanding the complexities of Soviet military capabilities. One of the remarkable features of the U-2 was its ability to take photographs in high resolution. Equipped with sophisticated camera technology, it could capture detailed images of Soviet missile bases, troop movements, and other strategic locations. For instance, consider a U-2 flying over a remote missile site. While on the ground, the threat may seem distant and obscure, but from the vantage point of the U-2 at high altitude, clear images could be taken, revealing the true extent of Soviet missile development. Conducting these high-altitude flights posed significant risks. The U-2 was vulnerable to enemy surface-to-air missiles and interceptors. The most notable incident occurred in May 1960, when pilot Francis Gary Powers was shot down over Soviet territory during a reconnaissance mission. Powers' capture highlighted the dangers of aerial espionage as tensions escalated between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. The event not only strained diplomatic relations, but also raised questions about the ethics and legality of such surveillance efforts. It prompted a widespread debate within the U.S. government regarding intelligence gathering methods and the price of national security. Despite these risks, the U-2 program continued to provide invaluable intelligence. Throughout the 1960s, as the Cold War intensified, the data collected from U-2 flights informed U.S. policymakers about the Soviet military posture. The images and information helped prevent miscalculations during various crises, including the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. During this pivotal moment, U-2 reconnaissance flights provided critical evidence of Soviet missile installations in Cuba, allowing U.S. leaders to respond effectively. Beyond its military capabilities, the U-2 program also had significant impacts on technology and aviation. The challenges of high-altitude flight led to innovations in materials, flight controls, and reconnaissance technology. The lessons learned informed subsequent aircraft designs, resulting in machines that could operate at even higher altitudes and with greater capabilities. Moreover, the techniques developed for aerial photography and remote sensing laid the groundwork for future advances in satellite technology, which would revolutionize reconnaissance efforts. Over the years, the U-2 evolved, adapting to changing technologies and the emerging threats of the late 20th century. Even as satellite technology advanced, the U-2 remained relevant due to its maneuverability and ability to collect real-time intelligence. In fact, the U-2 continues to serve in various capacities, including tracking environmental changes, conducting search and rescue operations, and supporting humanitarian missions. The legacy of the U-2 program extends far beyond its initial purpose. It represents a landmark in aerial intelligence and highlights the lengths to which nations will go to protect their interests. The blend of engineering excellence and the strategic necessity of its missions created a program that captured the imagination of many. The U-2 spy plane played a critical role in shaping the landscape of Cold War espionage. It was not just a remarkable aircraft, but rather a symbol of the technological and tactical innovations of its time. The concept of flying an aircraft into enemy airspace at high altitudes to gather vital information demonstrated the interplay between technology and national security. As we look back on the U-2 program, we can appreciate how it not only influenced military operations, but also established a foundation for future intelligence-gathering methods. In conclusion, the U-2 program exemplifies the balance between innovation and risk in the pursuit of knowledge. The ability to soar above the clouds and uncover vital intelligence changed the dynamics of international relations during a critical period. This aircraft not only defined an era of reconnaissance, but also laid the groundwork for the advanced aerial technologies we see today. Its story is a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless quest for understanding in a world fraught with uncertainty. In the early 1960s, tensions between the United States and Cuba were at a fever pitch. The Bay of Pigs invasion stands as a significant moment in Cold War history, showcasing the lengths to which the United States was willing to go to thwart the spread of communism. This ill-fated operation involved a covert plan orchestrated by the CIA with the goal of overthrowing the Cuban leader, Fidel Castro. To understand the invasion, we need to go back to the late 1950s when Fidel Castro led a successful revolution against the government of Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista. The United States had been a strong supporter of Batista's regime, and Castro's rise to power alarmed American officials. Castro's alignment with communist ideals and his ties to the Soviet Union, particularly after the Cuban Revolution, raised concerns in Washington. The fear was that a communist foothold in Cuba, just a short distance from the Florida coast, could inspire similar movements in other Latin American countries. As tensions brewed, the Central Intelligence Agency embarked on a mission to remove Castro from power. The plan was to train a group of Cuban exiles who had fled the country after the revolution and equip them to invade Cuba. This force was meant to spark a popular uprising against Castro, allowing them to seize control of the island. The site selected for the invasion was the Bay of Pigs, a small inlet on Cuba's southern coast. In April 1961, the invasion commenced. At first, things did not appear to be disastrous. The U.S. provided air support, and the initial landing of the exile force seemed to go according to plan. However, a lack of adequate air cover became a crucial point of failure. As the invasion force landed, they were met with fierce resistance from the Cuban military. Castro's forces were prepared and quickly counterattacked, systematically dismantling the invading troops. The exiles found themselves vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Miscommunications and logistical failures plagued the operation. The CIA had underestimated Castro's popularity and the strength of his army. The invasion force lacked sufficient supplies and support, and morale plummeted as the realization set in that they were not only facing Castro's troops, but also likely destined to fail. As the situation deteriorated, the United States government faced a difficult choice. President John F. Kennedy, who had inherited the operation from his predecessor, turned to assess the possibility of direct military intervention. Ultimately, he made the decision to withdraw U.S. support, hoping to avoid an escalation that could lead to a larger conflict with the Soviet Union. The failed invasion resulted in a rapid retreat of the exiles and a humiliating defeat for the United States. Approximately 1,200 men were captured, and although they were eventually released in exchange for medical supplies and food, the failure had serious repercussions for U.S. foreign policy and its reputation in Latin America. Castro emerged as a national hero, bolstered in his resolve, solidifying his grip on power and further aligning himself with the Soviet Union. In the wake of the Bay of Pigs invasion, the Cuban Missile Crisis would soon unfold in 1962, placing the world on the brink of nuclear war. The failed mission became a learning moment for the Kennedy administration and the CIA, prompting a re-evaluation of covert operations and their implications. It served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of interventionist policies, the complexities of foreign nations, and the unpredictable nature of revolutionary movements. The Bay of Pigs invasion remains deeply etched in American historical memory, symbolizing the perils of underestimating a nation and overestimating one's own capabilities to influence its destiny. It serves as a reminder of the intricate web of international relations, where actions can have far-reaching consequences. The fallibility of intelligence, the importance of understanding cultural contexts, and the risks associated with military intervention became lessons that policymakers have continued to wrestle with long after the dust settled on those sandy shores. In analyzing the events surrounding the Bay of Pigs invasion, we also gain insight into the broader themes of the Cold War era. Propaganda, perception versus reality, and the dynamic interplay between ideology and power shaped not only the lives of individuals in Cuba, but also international relations across the globe. The scars of this operation lingered, influencing military strategies and political doctrines in the years that followed. Though long past, the lessons gleaned from the Bay of Pigs invasion continue to resonate today. As nations grapple with issues of sovereignty, self-determination, and foreign intervention, the chronicles of this bold yet failed invasion remind us of the intricacies involved in the game of global politics. Understanding history allows us to engage thoughtfully with today's challenges, as we listen not only to the events themselves, but also to the voices of those who lived through them. The narratives of individuals, leaders, and communities unfold a rich tapestry that continues to teach, warn, and inspire us as we navigate an ever-evolving world. Operation Chaos was a covert program initiated by the Central Intelligence Agency in the 1960s, aimed at monitoring and infiltrating anti-war groups and other dissident movements within the United States. Born out of the heightened tensions and protests against the Vietnam War, the operation sought to gather intelligence on individuals and organizations that were perceived as threats to national security. Initially, the CIA had focused on foreign threats, but as domestic opposition to the Vietnam War grew, the agency turned its attention inward. Social movements, such as the Civil Rights Movement, women's liberation, and the anti-war demonstrations, became targets of extensive surveillance. The belief was that anti-war activists might be influenced by foreign powers, or that they posed a danger to the stability of the nation. Through this program, the CIA aimed to track the activities of various anti-war groups, such as Students for a Democratic Society and the Weather Underground. The CIA utilized undercover agents, informants, and electronic surveillance to collect data on their meetings, membership lists, and even their strategies for protests. This kind of monitoring aimed not only to gather information, but also to disrupt and counteract the efforts of these groups. The techniques used during Operation Chaos were often controversial. The agency did not always adhere to legal boundaries, leading to accusations of overreach and violations of civil liberties. Many felt that the boundaries between legitimate national security interests and the right to free speech were blurred, as the CIA seemed to target any group dissenting from the government's position on the Vietnam War. Throughout the operation, the line between foreign and domestic surveillance became increasingly ambiguous. The CIA's justification for such actions was often shrouded in secrecy, raising concerns about the agency's accountability. Critics argued that the monitoring efforts were not just focused on potential foreign influence, but were aimed at stifling dissent within American society. This sparked a national conversation about the role of government surveillance and individual rights, a topic that resonates even today. In response to growing public outrage about civil liberties violations and the increasing awareness of CIA activities, particularly after the Watergate scandal, Congress began to probe into the agency's operations. This resulted in significant reforms in how intelligence agencies could conduct surveillance, emphasizing oversight and accountability. As Operation Chaos continued, the complexities of managing a domestic surveillance program became apparent. The agency struggled to differentiate between those who were genuinely involved in criminal activities and peaceful protesters advocating for social change. This blurred line became a focal point for civil liberties advocates, who feared that under the guise of national security, lawful dissent was being suppressed. In the latter part of the 1970s, as the socio-political landscape shifted and anti-war sentiments began to wane, the focus of the CIA shifted away from strict domestic surveillance toward establishing clearer boundaries on lawful engagement with domestic groups. The fallout from Operation Chaos led to a greater emphasis on defining what constituted legitimate surveillance and the importance of protecting civil liberties in a democratic society. To this day, the legacy of Operation Chaos remains significant in discussions about privacy, government surveillance, and civil rights. It serves as a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between ensuring national security and upholding the fundamental right to protest peacefully. The historical context of this operation has paved the way for ongoing debates about the ethics of surveillance and the power of governmental agencies in monitoring citizen activity, a topic that continues to evolve with advancements in technology. As modern society grapples with similar issues, the lessons learned from Operation Chaos are more relevant than ever. People often reflect on the importance of vigilance regarding governmental oversight, advocating for transparency and accountability to prevent history from repeating itself. Balancing security needs with the freedoms guaranteed by a democratic society is a challenge that demands continuous dialogue and engagement from the public. In conclusion, Operation Chaos represents a critical intersection between the need for security and the rights of individuals to express dissent. Its intricate narrative reveals the complexities of state surveillance and the ongoing struggle to maintain democratic values amidst threats perceived by the authorities. Understanding this operation highlights the importance of protecting civil liberties, ensuring that various voices within society can continue to be heard and addressed in respectful and meaningful ways. In the heart of Africa lies the Democratic Republic of Congo, a land rich in resources and diverse in culture, but also a stage for geopolitical intrigue during the Cold War. One of the lesser-known chapters in this narrative is the covert operations conducted under what has been referred to as Zebra Mission. This operation was a complex web of espionage, political maneuvering, and military strategy involving various international players, primarily the United States, Belgium, and their allies. The backdrop to Zebra Mission is a tumultuous period marked by the decolonization of African nations and the emergence of new leaders. In the Congo, a wave of political instability set in after independence from Belgium in 1960. The first Prime Minister, Patrice Lumumba, sought to unify the country and garner support from the Soviet Union, which alarmed Western powers. Lumumba's Pan-African vision and calls for social reform drew attention, leading the CIA and other agencies to view him as a potential threat in the bipolar context of the Cold War. As tensions rose, the CIA, in collaboration with Belgian forces, initiated a series of covert operations aimed at destabilizing Lumumba's government. This culminated in a plan known as Zebra Mission, which involved intelligence gathering, counterinsurgency tactics, and the creation of support networks within the military and various factions in Congo. Among the most significant aspects of the mission was the recruitment of local informants and mercenaries who could provide critical insights and execute operations on the ground. The operations took an unexpected turn with the involvement of Colonel Joseph Mobutu, a military officer who ultimately positioned himself as the key player in the unfolding drama. Supported by Western powers, Mobutu orchestrated a coup in 1965, removing Lumumba's supporters from power and establishing a dictatorship that lasted for decades. The strategic backing provided by foreign powers was justified by the need to contain the spread of communism, but it also revealed a willingness to compromise on democratic principles. Zebra Mission also explored the conflict's impact on various ethnic groups within the Congo, highlighting the complex interplay between local dynamics and international interests. With numerous tribes and factions vying for power, the situation became highly volatile, making Zebra Mission a challenge not just in military terms, but also in managing local sentiments. The operations led to significant humanitarian consequences, affecting millions of lives as the political struggle intensified. One particularly fascinating aspect of Zebra Mission was the use of disinformation and propaganda. The CIA, with its resources, sought to sway public opinion and create divisions among Lumumba's supporters. This sometimes involved financing opposition groups or manipulating media narratives to generate distrust against Lumumba. This subtler form of warfare underscored the notion that perceptions could be as potent as armed conflict, shaping the landscape of power in Congo. The aftermath of Zebra Mission ultimately left a lasting legacy on the Congo, reflected in years of authoritarian rule and ongoing struggles for democracy. The repercussions of the operations influenced how future generations viewed foreign interventions and the pursuit of ideological dominance. While the Cold War eventually waned, the complexities introduced during this period continue to resonate today in the politics and social fabric of the Democratic Republic of Congo. In reflecting on Zebra Mission and its implications, we delve into broader discussions surrounding ethics in intelligence operations. The decisions made at the time, often framed as necessary for national security, raise questions about the morality of sacrificing human rights for political objectives. The shadows of these operations highlight the harsh realities faced by populations caught in the crossfire of global power struggles. In exploring these historical narratives, it becomes clear that the stories of individuals involved in Zebra Mission are just as compelling as the geopolitical maneuvers. Many local operatives and soldiers were caught in a whirlwind of external influences and internal pressures, shaping their lives in unique and often tragic ways. The richness of human experience during this period is a reminder of the intricate tapestry that history weaves, blending personal stories with larger narratives. As we conclude this exploration of Zebra Mission, It invites us to reflect upon the reality of international relations and the often invisible threads that tie nations together. Whether through direct military action or covert operations, the legacies of such missions remain present, serving as a potent reminder of how history can shape the current landscape of global politics. By delving into these operations and their impact, we gain insights not just about the past, but about the ongoing interconnectedness of our world and the importance of understanding history's lessons for future generations. The Phoenix Program was an initiative developed during the Vietnam War by the United States government, primarily through the CIA, aimed at counterinsurgency operations against the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces. This program, active from 1967 to 1972, sought to eliminate the Viet Cong infrastructure by targeting its leadership and support base throughout South Vietnam. At its core, the Phoenix Program was designed to disrupt the capabilities of the insurgents by gathering intelligence on their operations, networks, and sympathizers. The program involved a range of tactics, including intelligence gathering, interrogation, and direct action against suspected Viet Cong operatives. The goal was to dismantle the organizational structure of the Viet Cong and to reduce their influence in the local communities. One key aspect of the Phoenix Program was its reliance on cooperation with the South Vietnamese government. The program enlisted the help of local police and other security forces to identify and capture suspected insurgents. This collaboration was crucial, as it allowed for the amplifying of local knowledge and awareness of the insurgency's activities. However, this cooperation also raised concerns about the methods employed, as the program was often associated with controversial practices, including detention and interrogation techniques that violated human rights. The program was also marked by an extensive use of information and psychological operations. The aim was not merely to take physical action against suspected Viet Cong, but to win the hearts and minds of the local population. This included efforts to provide humanitarian aid, agricultural assistance, and other forms of support to demonstrate the benefits of cooperating with the South Vietnamese government and the U.S. presence. Despite its objectives, the Phoenix Program faced significant challenges and criticism. Many believed it was a deeply flawed strategy that contributed to widespread fear and mistrust within the South Vietnamese population. Critics argue that it led to wrongful arrests and incidents of brutality, which in turn alienated the very people it sought to win over. The secrecy surrounding the program further complicated public perception, as many operations were conducted without full transparency. Estimates regarding the total number of individuals affected by the Phoenix Program vary widely. Officially, reports claim that thousands of Viet Cong suspects were killed, captured, or turned over to South Vietnamese authorities. However, critics contend that the actual numbers may be much higher, pointing to the more systemic violence and possible extrajudicial killings that were part of the counterinsurgency efforts. The legacy of the Phoenix Program remains contentious. Some argue that it represented a dark chapter in the history of American foreign policy, highlighting the ethical dilemmas inherent in wartime operations. Others maintain that it was a necessary, albeit imperfect, strategy aimed at thwarting a formidable insurgency during a critical period. In a broader context, the Phoenix Program has influenced subsequent discussions on counterinsurgency tactics and strategies in various conflicts around the world. The complexities and consequences of its operations continue to be studied by scholars, military strategists, and policymakers as they seek to understand the implications of intelligence-driven counterinsurgency efforts in asymmetric warfare. Ultimately, the Phoenix Program serves as an important case study in the challenges of conducting military operations in a deeply divided society, where the lines between friend and foe can become blurred, and where the methods of achieving military objectives can have lasting impacts on civilian communities. The discussions surrounding it invite reflection on the ethical considerations of warfare and the role of intelligence in shaping military strategy. In the midst of the Cold War, a significant operation unfolded beneath the city of Berlin, one that would play a critical role in intelligence gathering and showcase the lengths to which governments would go to secure information. This operation, known as the Berlin Tunnel Operation, was a covert effort by the United States to intercept and tap into Soviet communications, shedding light on the complex espionage landscape of the era. In the early 1950s, tensions between the East and West were escalating as the ideological battle between capitalism and communism intensified. Berlin, a city divided by the Iron Curtain, became the epicenter of Cold War intrigue. The Western Allies found themselves in constant competition with the Soviet Union for an advantage in this precarious standoff. In response to the emerging threats, U.S. intelligence agencies explored various ways to gain an upper hand, leading to the conception of the Berlin Tunnel operation. The plan was simple yet daring. The operation involved constructing a tunnel that would run from West Berlin into East Berlin, directly beneath the Berlin Wall. The intention was to tap into Soviet communications lines. This was a highly secretive affair, with a complex range of logistics and a significant investment of resources. The operation, under the codename Gold Star, was officially sanctioned and executed by the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA. Construction began in 1954, with work carried out under the guise of a water main project. This ruse allowed the operatives to operate without arousing suspicion from Soviet forces, who were vigilant against any Western incursions into their territory. Engineers and operatives worked with precision, using the cover of night to dig and lay the necessary cables for eavesdropping. They faced numerous challenges, including the difficult terrain, potential discovery, and the intrinsic risks of operating in a hostile environment. Once completed, the tunnel stretched approximately 1,400 feet long, successfully penetrating Soviet secure communication lines. It was a remarkable achievement, employing advanced technology for the time and showcasing human ingenuity. The intelligence collected through the operation was unprecedented, allowing the U.S. and its allies to tap into conversations about military strategies, troop movements, and other critical information that would shape their actions during the Cold War. As the operation began to yield results, it became apparent that the intelligence gathered was invaluable. It provided insights that might not have been available otherwise, influencing decisions at the highest levels of government. These communications revealed the inner workings of Soviet military operations, internal debates, and even discussions that exposed vulnerabilities within the Eastern Bloc. Analysts would take this information and transform it into actionable intelligence that could affect military postures and diplomatic engagements. However, the success of the Berlin Tunnel operation was short-lived. In 1956, just 2 years after its completion, the Soviets discovered the operation. It is believed they were tipped off either through a defecting East German official or by means of intelligence gathering they had in place. Suddenly, the carefully constructed web of secrecy unraveled. The fallout was significant, and the operation was terminated. While the tunnel was no longer operational, its legacy remained. Although the Soviet discovery marked a turning point for CIA operations in Berlin, the lessons learned proved to be equally important. The operation underscored the importance of intelligence gathering in the context of the Cold War. It demonstrated the lengths countries would go to achieve strategic advantages and highlighted the vulnerabilities inherent in espionage activities. The fallout from the operation also led to a re-evaluation of intelligence methodologies and practices, prompting the U.S. intelligence community to adapt and refine their approach to covert operations. In retrospect, the Berlin Tunnel operation stands as a fascinating chapter in Cold War history. It reflects not only the ingenuity and determination of intelligence operatives, but also the global tension permeating the era. Amidst the fear and uncertainty of the Cold War, individuals on both sides maneuvered in shadowy realms where information could mean power or, conversely, cataclysmic failure. This operation remains a testament to the intricate dance of diplomacy, intelligence, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge during a time defined by division and rivalry. In conclusion, the Berlin Tunnel operation is a striking example of hidden struggles beneath the surface of history. The efforts to tap into Soviet communications helped shape the dynamics of the Cold War, illustrating the complex interplay between nations in the race for supremacy. While the tunnel may be long gone, the insights gleaned from its legacy continue to inform our understanding of intelligence and the fragility of international relations. The story of the Berlin Tunnel is not just about secrets and espionage. It is a narrative woven with the aspirations, fears, and ambitions of those who lived through one of the most turbulent periods in history. Operation Mockingbird is a term that refers to an alleged campaign by the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, to influence and manipulate media outlets both in the United States and around the world. Its roots can be traced back to the early years of the Cold War, around the late 1940s and early 1950s, when the United States was deeply concerned about the spread of communism. At this time, the CIA recognized the power of media in shaping public opinion and understanding events happening domestically and internationally. It became apparent to the agency that controlling narratives through journalism would be a vital tool in the struggle against the Soviet Union and its allies. With this in mind, the CIA reportedly sought out journalists, editors, and influential media figures who could help disseminate information aligned with U.S. interests. One of the main objectives of Operation Mockingbird was to cultivate relationships with prominent journalists and news organizations. Some accounts suggest that the CIA provided financial support to various publications or employed journalists who were willing to promote propaganda. This resulted in a form of media manipulation, where stories presented in newspapers and magazines reflected the CIA's agenda rather than the objective truth. Interestingly, this operation also involved cultural fronts. The CIA was known to sponsor various artistic and cultural initiatives, believing that art and literature could also serve as effective avenues for influencing public sentiment. The agency supported writers, funded literary projects, and even aided in the publication of foreign-language publications to shape perceptions of America and its ideology. One notable aspect of Operation Mockingbird was the recruitment of high-profile journalists. Some respected figures in journalism reportedly had connections with the CIA, intentionally or unintentionally acting as conduits of agency narratives. These connections blurred the lines between investigative reporting and intelligence operations, raising ethical questions about the role of journalists in society. For instance, news outlets that were once respected pillars of society might have found themselves entangled in this web of influence. The implications of this are vast, as it raises questions about the integrity of the information the public receives. When independent reporting and intelligence work intertwine, the underlying principles of freedom of the press face significant challenges. Months and years have gone by since these allegations emerged, and discussions about Operation Mockingbird continue to be relevant today. With the rise of social media and the increasing difficulty in discerning credible information from misinformation, the lessons learned from this operation remain applicable. The situation draws parallels to modern-day anxieties surrounding media ownership, influence, and the spreading of propaganda through various mediums. The concept of information as power is not new, and many governments throughout history have recognized that narratives can shape societies. The significance of Operation Mockingbird can thus be seen as a pivotal moment in the intersection of intelligence and media. It showed the immense influence that narratives hold in shaping not only public perception, but also policy, political decisions, and international relations. Moreover, Operation Mockingbird serves as a cautionary tale. It highlights how, through manipulation, even institutions designed to inform the public can inadvertently become tools for agendas that prioritize narratives over truth. The implications for democracy and informed citizenship are considerable, as a well-informed public is critical to the functioning of any democratic society. In summary, Operation Mockingbird illustrates an intricate relationship between the CIA and the media during a volatile period in global politics. The operation aimed to harness the power of journalism to promote certain narratives while undermining opposing views. The effects of such a campaign may linger in how media operates today, reflecting ongoing challenges in the pursuit of truth amidst competing interests. Ultimately, the legacy of Operation Mockingbird remains a cautionary reminder of the fragility of independent journalism and the importance of maintaining integrity in information dissemination. Through understanding this operation, one can appreciate the crucial role of transparency and the responsibility that falls upon those who wield the power of storytelling. In the early 19th century, specifically between the years of 1829 and 1831, a scandal erupted in the United States known as the Petticoat Affair. This event not only rocked the political landscape of the country, but also revealed deep-seated issues of gender, class, and power. The affair centered around the life of Margaret O'Neill Eaton, the wife of John Eaton, who was appointed as Secretary of War under President Andrew Jackson. Margaret, commonly referred to as Peggy, became the focal point of social controversy that pitted political allies against one another. Margaret Eaton was born in a tavern in 1799 and grew up with a rather unconventional background, especially for a woman of her time. She was known to be beautiful and vivacious, traits that would later make her a target of gossip. Before marrying John Eaton, she had a controversial relationship with a naval officer named John B. Timberlake, which left her vulnerable to the judgment of high society. After Timberlake's death, she married John Eaton in a ceremony that many considered scandalous due to the rapidity of her remarriage. As the wife of a cabinet member, Peggy assumed her role in a context where societal expectations for women were stringent. The women of the Washington elite, led by Floride Calhoun, the wife of Vice President John C. Calhoun, ostracized her. They deemed Peggy's past inappropriate and unrefined, sparking a social conflict that animated the often cutthroat dynamics of Washington politics at the time. The animosity towards her was not simply personal. It was interwoven with power struggles within the cabinet and the broader political environment. President Jackson, a man known for his loyalty to friends and allies, took Peggy's side, challenging the established norms that dictated how women were to behave in society. Jackson had a personal connection to Peggy, as he felt she was being unfairly attacked, reminiscent of his own turbulent history in the face of public scrutiny. His defiance of the elite female social circle in Washington only intensified the conflict. Jackson's steadfast loyalty put him at odds with prominent figures like Calhoun, creating a rift that would have long-lasting political consequences. Meanwhile, the rejection and gossip surrounding Peggy Eaton fueled a divide among the Jacksonian supporters and those aligned with Calhoun. This division was not merely about social acceptance, it escalated into a significant political rift between Jackson and Calhoun that would later contribute to Calhoun's resignation as vice president. With emotions running high, public opinion became increasingly polarized. Some rallied behind Peggy, celebrating her as a woman wronged, while others joined the ranks of her detractors, using her situation as a means to undermine Jackson's administration. The Petticoat Affair also reflected broader themes at play in 19th century America, particularly regarding women's roles in society. The events demonstrated the struggle women faced when navigating a male-dominated culture that utilized social ostracism as a weapon. The scandal highlighted the limited agency women had, and the personal vulnerabilities they endured within the political arena. It raised questions about propriety and the moral expectations placed on women, contrasting sharply with the often flawed standards applied to their male counterparts. As the scandal unfolded, Jackson continued to defend his new Secretary of War and his wife, further emboldening his position against the political elite who opposed him. In a remarkable display of loyalty, he encouraged his cabinet members to accept Peggy. However, many refused, leading to significant cabinet reshuffles and ultimately reshaping the administration. Over time, the fallout from the Petticoat Affair had longer-reaching effects than merely the immediate social dynamics of the capital. The incident birthed significant political maneuvers that played into the broader narrative of partisanship unfolding in the United States. It exemplified how personal vendettas could intertwine with national politics, creating complex alliances and enmities that would influence future events. After the intense scandal subsided, Peggy Eaton became a less prominent figure within the political scene. However, the Petticoat Affair left a lasting legacy in American politics as a case study of the interplay of social norms, gender dynamics, and political alliances. It provided a striking illustration of how personal relationships could build or break careers, and how the perceptions of women were often weaponized in the game of political chess. In the end, while the scandal primarily revolved around the personal experiences of Peggy Eaton, it was emblematic of a nation grappling with issues of honor, integrity, and the evolving position of women in an increasingly complex society. The Petticoat Affair remains a fascinating chapter in American history, reflecting both the personal and political tumult that accompanied the early years of this democratic experiment. The Iran-Contra Affair was a significant political scandal in the United States during the 1980s, touching on themes of foreign policy, covert operations, and government accountability. It highlighted a complex web of activities that ultimately challenged the principles of democracy and the structure of American governance. At the heart of the affair was the U.S. government's secret involvement in two major operations. First, the United States sought to improve relations with Iran, which had been designated as a state sponsor of terrorism. This approach was surprising, as Iran had taken American hostages and had been viewed with deep suspicion by the U.S. government. Nevertheless, in an effort to secure the release of several American hostages held by Hezbollah, a terrorist group in Lebanon, U.S. officials agreed to sell weapons to Iran. This decision was not just controversial, it also contradicted an existing arms embargo against Iran. The second significant component of this scandal involved the funding of the Contras, a rebel group in Nicaragua, fighting against the Sandinista government, which was perceived as a communist threat in the region. The Sandinistas had close ties to the Soviet Union, and the U.S. government was determined to prevent the establishment of a communist government in Central America. However, Congress had passed the Boland Amendment, which prohibited any further aid to the Contras, complicating the U.S. strategy. To navigate this legislative obstacle, the Reagan administration devised a plan that involved using the proceeds from the arms sales to Iran to fund the Contras. This operation was conducted largely in secrecy, and many key players in the administration were involved in carrying out the strategy, sometimes bypassing standard protocols and oversight mechanisms. As the elements of this scandal gradually came to light, they revealed a troubling picture of a government willing to operate outside the law for what it considered national security interests. Investigative journalism played a crucial role in uncovering these actions, drawing public attention to the seemingly insurmountable contradictions between the U.S. government's rhetoric regarding both Iran and Nicaragua and the realities of its covert operations. One of the notable figures during the Iran-Contra Affair was Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, a National Security Council staff member. North became a symbol of the scandal and a focus of media attention, particularly as he was portrayed as a heroic figure trying to combat communism in Central America. His televised testimony during congressional hearings captivated the nation as he defended his actions and the broader objectives of the Reagan administration. Yet, his involvement raised questions about the legality of the operations and the moral implications of such secretive maneuvers. The political fallout from the affair was significant. Investigations led to a series of congressional hearings and an independent counsel's investigation, which revealed the extent of the operations and the violations of legal frameworks. Many officials faced legal consequences, although some were later pardoned, creating further discord within American society regarding accountability and justice. Public opinion during the scandal fluctuated dramatically. Initially, there was substantial support for the Reagan administration's approach to foreign policy, particularly the fight against communism in Latin America. However, as the details of the Iran-Contra affair were uncovered, this support began to wane. The betrayal of congressional oversight and the manipulative tactics employed in foreign policy sparked outrage among citizens who believed in the checks and balances essential to American democracy. The legacy of the Iran-Contra affair has lingered in political discussions to this day. It raised enduring questions about executive power and the limits of government action, particularly in foreign policy. The affair illuminated the need for transparency in government operations and the critical role of checks and balances in preserving democracy. Ultimately, the investigation into the Iran-Contra affair prompted reforms aimed at increasing accountability within the U.S. government. For instance, many called for stronger oversight of covert operations and clearer laws governing foreign arms sales. These changes were essential in reestablishing public trust in governmental institutions. In conclusion, the Iran-Contra affair serves as a reminder of the complexity of international relations and the ethical considerations that arise when governments engage in covert operations. The scandal encapsulates the tensions between state security interests and democratic principles, highlighting the challenges of maintaining accountability in the pursuit of national policy objectives. Its lessons continue to resonate in discussions surrounding foreign policy, governmental transparency, and the responsibilities of public officials. Through reflections on the past, there remain lasting opportunities for learning and improvement, ensuring that such complexities in governance are handled with the necessary care and consideration in the future. Operation MONGOOSE was a significant covert program initiated by the United States in the early 1960s, with the primary aim of destabilizing the Cuban government led by Fidel Castro. This operation came on the heels of the infamous Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961, which, despite being a meticulously planned military effort by Cuban exiles, ultimately ended in failure and embarrassment for the U.S. government. In the aftermath, the United States sought alternative methods to address what it viewed as the growing threat of communism just 90 miles off its coast. The context behind Operation MONGOOSE lies in the Cold War, a time when the U.S. and Soviet Union were locked in a global struggle for influence. The political landscape was polarized, and small nations like Cuba became chess pieces in this high-stakes game. After the Bay of Pigs, the U.S. aimed to prevent any further expansion of communist influence in the Americas, which led to the formation of Operation MONGOOSE by the Kennedy administration. Launched in late 1961, the operation was under the auspices of the United States, specifically the Central Intelligence Agency, and relied on a series of clandestine actions aimed at undermining Castro's regime. The complexity and ambition of the operation were astonishing, involving a variety of strategies ranging from psychological warfare to sabotage. One of the operational strategies included economic sabotage. The U.S. sought to disrupt the Cuban economy by targeting its major industries. Agricultural operations, particularly sugar production, were affected by continuous sabotage efforts, which, in turn, aimed to create inflation and decrease public support for Castro. These covert actions often involved the planting of explosives and other means of destruction to infringe upon Cuba's economic lifeline. Another key aspect of Operation MONGOOSE was the use of psychological warfare. Propaganda campaigns aimed at creating dissent within Cuba were launched. Pamphlets, broadcasts, and radio transmissions were utilized to spread misinformation about Castro's government. The intent was to decrease public morale and increase opposition to his government. For instance, the U.S. funded anti-Castro broadcasts aimed at making the Cuban people question their leader's ability to provide for them and protect their rights. In addition to economic and psychological means, Operation MONGOOSE sought to bolster anti-Castro elements within Cuba. This involved training and providing support to groups that opposed Castro's government. The CIA aimed to arm and organize these factions to mount a stronger resistance against Castro, seeking to create an environment where a coup might become possible. Despite the ambitious nature of Operation MONGOOSE, many of the plans did not achieve the desired outcome. There were numerous challenges, including the resilience of Castro's regime, which quickly adapted to many of the efforts against it. The operation's complexity meant that coordination among various branches of the CIA and the military proved difficult. Additionally, the presence of security measures and the loyalty among Cuban citizens to Castro often rendered the attempts ineffective. As time went on, the U.S. began to reconsider its approach. The assassination attempts on Fidel Castro became part of the lore surrounding Operation MONGOOSE. Various methods were proposed to eliminate him, ranging from poisoning to more elaborate schemes involving disguises and deceit. These attempts not only showcased the desperation within the U.S. intelligence community, but also reflected the length to which the U.S. was willing to go to change the political landscape in Cuba. The revelations of Operation MONGOOSE and other similar covert actions would later spark debate about the ethics of such interventions by the U.S. government. Discussions surrounding the operation reflected upon questions of sovereignty, intervention, and the use of covert action in foreign policy. Critics argue that these strategies ultimately backfired, solidifying Castro's grip on power rather than diminishing it. Operation MONGOOSE serves as a historical example of the complexities of international relations during the Cold War era. The operation underscored the lengths to which nations might resort to achieve foreign policy goals and the lasting consequences of such actions. As the decades rolled on, the operation and its varied outcomes became a fundamental part of the narrative surrounding U.S.-Cuba relations and have continued to evoke discussions about interventionist policies in global affairs. In essence, Operation MONGOOSE was not merely a military or intelligence initiative. It became a multifaceted approach that reflected a dynamic interplay of politics, economics, and ideology during a critically tense period in world history. Analyzing its legacy prompts us to ponder how historical events shape current international relations and the principles behind foreign policy strategies still in use today. The Domino Theory was a significant concept during the Cold War, a period marked by tension and ideological conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union. The theory suggested that the spread of communism in one country could trigger a chain reaction, causing neighboring countries to fall into communism one after another, much like a line of dominoes toppling over. This line of thinking greatly influenced U.S. foreign policy and military strategy during the latter half of the 20th century. The roots of the domino theory can be traced back to geopolitical developments in the post-World War II era. As nations began to assert their independence and define their political systems, the fear of communism expanding into new territories became a central concern for American policymakers. Countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America were seen as vulnerable to communist influences, especially with the Soviet Union actively promoting revolutionary movements and supporting leftist governments. One of the earliest instances that highlighted the domino theory was in Southeast Asia, particularly with the situation in Vietnam. After the French colonial rule ended, Vietnam was divided into North and South. North Vietnam, under the leadership of Ho Chi Minh, was a communist state, while South Vietnam was supported by the United States and other Western allies. American leaders feared that if South Vietnam fell to communism, neighboring countries like Laos and Cambodia would follow suit. This belief fueled U.S. involvement in Vietnam and led to a significant escalation in military presence. The theory also extended to other regions such as Central America and the Caribbean. During the 1950s and 1960s, several countries in this region experienced communist uprisings or revolutions, which alarmed U.S. officials. A notable example is the Cuban Revolution in 1959, which brought Fidel Castro to power and introduced a communist government just 90 miles from the coast of Florida. The U.S. government feared that this new regime would inspire other Latin American nations to adopt similar ideologies, potentially undermining American interests in the region. In response to these fears, the United States adopted a policy of containment. This strategy aimed to prevent the spread of communism by supporting anti-communist governments or movements around the world, often through military aid, economic assistance, or direct intervention. The idea was that if communism could be contained within existing borders, the overall expansion would be limited, countering the Domino Theory. The urgency surrounding the Domino Theory was palpable during the Vietnam War, which became a defining conflict of the period. President Lyndon B. Johnson's administration believed that a decisive military response was necessary to prevent the fall of South Vietnam. The Gulf of Tonkin incident in 1964 served as a catalyst for escalating U.S. troop involvement, as the American public and policymakers were led to believe that there was an urgent need to stop the communist advance. However, as the war progressed, doubts about the efficacy of the containment strategy began to emerge. The situation in Vietnam turned increasingly complex, with the North Vietnamese forces proving to be resilient and committed to their cause. The mounting casualties and prolonged military engagement led many to question whether the Domino Theory was an accurate assessment of global politics or a misguided rationale for intervention. As events unfolded, some countries, such as Cambodia and Laos, indeed experienced instability and regime changes after the fall of South Vietnam. Nevertheless, the predicted chain reaction of communism spreading throughout Southeast Asia did not materialize as feared. In fact, many nations in the region pursued their own distinct paths, blending various political ideologies and systems. In later years, the relevance of the Domino Theory was further scrutinized as new global dynamics emerged. The Cold War eventually came to an end, with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. It became clear that the complexities of international relations could not be distilled into a simple cause-and-effect model. The theory's limitations highlighted the need for a more nuanced understanding of national interests, regional conflicts, and the diverse motivations behind political movements. Although the Domino Theory was a driving force behind significant U.S. foreign policy decisions during the Cold War, it also serves as a historical lesson about the challenges of predicting geopolitical shifts. The fear of communism and the desire for containment shaped global events, but those same events ultimately revealed the limitations of viewing international relations through a binary lens. In conclusion, the Domino Theory elegantly illustrates how fear and perception can shape policy and action on a global scale. As nations navigate their paths today, the lessons learned from the Cold War era continue to resonate, reminding us that the world is a complex tapestry of cultures, ideologies, and ambitions. Understanding these intricacies is essential for any nation looking to engage meaningfully on the international stage. In the mid-20th century, the United States faced a significant societal and political upheaval that would shape its history in ways that are still felt today. Among the many narratives of this era, there exists a lesser-known yet profoundly impactful event known as the Lavender Scare. This period marked a time when thousands of individuals, specifically homosexuals, were dismissed from government jobs, ostracized, and discriminated against for their sexual orientation, an action fueled by fear and misinformation. It is essential to understand the context in which the Lavender Scare occurred. Following World War II, the United States found itself in the midst of the Cold War. Tensions with the Soviet Union were high, and the fear of communism infiltrating American society was palpable. In this atmosphere, the government became increasingly paranoid, believing that homosexuals would be vulnerable to blackmail and therefore posed a security risk. This perception was based on a deeply ingrained 20th century stigma, which viewed homosexuality not only as immoral, but also as a potential threat to national security. In 1950, Senator Joseph McCarthy was to become one of the most infamous figures associated with the hunt for alleged communists, but he was not alone in fueling this hysteria. The Lavender Scare presented a similar form of paranoia, where individuals perceived to have deviant sexual orientations became targets of suspicion. The belief was that homosexuals could be easily manipulated by foreign adversaries due to their clandestine lifestyles and could be persuaded to leak sensitive information. As a result, the federal government initiated widespread dismissals and investigations into employees' sexual orientations. The initial push to purge homosexuals from government jobs began in earnest with the publication of an article by a newspaper editor named Fred P. Hitz in 1950, who boldly claimed that homosexuals were a severe threat to American security. In his article, he portrayed the homosexual community as a breeding ground for subversion. This narrative resonated with many, leading to policymakers adopting a sweeping anti-homosexual stance. In the following years, the U.S. State Department and other governmental agencies instigated thorough investigations, utilizing invasive methods to uncover the sexual orientations of their employees. The ramifications for those caught in this wave of hysteria were devastating. Thousands of individuals lost their jobs, forced to navigate a hostile society reluctant to accept them. Many were publicly outed, suffering both professional and personal humiliation. The turmoil did not merely affect those who lost their positions. It rippled through families, friendships, and entire communities. The Lavender Scare contributed to an atmosphere of fear and secrecy, in which many homosexuals felt compelled to hide their identities to survive in a world that deemed them unfit for public service. One particularly notable aspect of the Lavender Scare was the role of government policies in perpetuating discrimination. The federal government officially sanctioned the idea that homosexuals were unsuitable for employment by systematically ordering the dismissal of anyone suspected of being gay. This practice was codified in 1953 when President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed Executive Order 10450, which served as a legal framework to fire anyone who was deemed immoral or a threat to national security, a classification often invoked against homosexuals. This formal policy generated an environment of silence and repression, where fear of being discovered led many to live their lives in the shadows, constantly aware that their jobs, relationships, and well-being were at risk. Yet, amidst the turmoil, the Lavender Scare also sparked initial rays of resistance and activism. The mid-1950s saw the emergence of organizations such as the Mattachine Society and the Daughters of Bilitis, which began to advocate for LGBTQ+ rights and challenge the stereotypes propagated by authorities. These groups sought to create safe spaces for the community and foster a sense of solidarity, igniting the beginnings of the gay rights movement. As history moved through the 1960s and beyond, public consciousness began to shift. The Lavender Scare had undeniable repercussions, but it also fueled a desire for change. The Stonewall riots of 1969 marked a turning point in the fight for LGBTQ+ equality, igniting a larger push against systemic discrimination. Activism progressed cautiously into the mainstream, advocating for civil rights, legal protections, and societal acceptance. In the years that followed the Lavender Scare, societal attitudes toward homosexuality began to evolve. The activism that grew from the oppressed community paved the way for greater awareness and acceptance, leading to landmark rulings on marriage equality and anti-discrimination laws in later decades. The experiences of those who endured the Lavender Scare laid the groundwork for a more inclusive society, one that increasingly valued diversity and human rights. Today, the legacy of the Lavender Scare serves as a reminder of the dangers posed by fear and discrimination. It highlights the resilience of individuals who face persecution and the importance of continued vigilance in protecting the rights of all people. Understanding this chapter in American history is not merely an exercise in retrospection. It serves as an urgent call to remember the past, to ensure that its lessons remain embedded in our collective consciousness as we work towards a more equitable future. The journey towards acceptance, understanding, and equality continues, shaped by both the struggles and triumphs of those who came before. In the heart of the Cold War, a peculiar event unfolded at the United States Embassy in Moscow that has intrigued researchers and historians alike. The phenomenon known as the Moscow signal. This strange occurrence involved the detection of unexplained microwave radiation, raising questions about its origins and implications for international relations. The story begins in the late 1950s, when American diplomats stationed in Moscow were exposed to unusual levels of microwave energy. It was not an ordinary occurrence, and what made it more perplexing was that the radiation seemed to be directed towards the embassy itself. The initial detection was quite subtle, barely noticeable at first. However, over time, the levels increased, leading to concerns about potential health risks for those working in the embassy. In 1962, due to mounting suspicions, scientists and analysts from various fields began to investigate. They discovered that the radiation had a frequency around 2.5 gigahertz, which presented potential implications for both communication and human safety. Microwaves are a part of the electromagnetic spectrum, and they have the ability to transmit energy over distances. This specific frequency could easily penetrate through walls and other barriers, making the situation even more disconcerting. As investigations continued, Speculation arose about the possible intentions behind this radiation. Some analysts suggested that it might be an attempt by the Soviet Union to conduct surveillance, or even to conduct mind control experiments on the American personnel stationed there. Although these theories seemed dramatic, they echoed the broader context of the Cold War, where paranoia and mistrust fueled a flurry of conspiracy theories and espionage activities. Yet, the exact purpose of the Moscow signal has remained elusive. The U.S. government took the matter seriously, and it led to a series of reports and studies aimed at understanding the long-term effects of microwave exposure. Research from medical experts indicated that although there were potential risks associated with high levels of microwaves, the levels detected at the embassy were not classified as harmful. However, the lingering uncertainties kept the intrigue alive. In the years that followed, the Moscow signal faded from public discussion, but it left behind a legacy of curiosity and unanswered questions. Was it a form of surveillance? An experiment gone wrong? Or perhaps an unintended consequence of technology? It is known that the U.S. and Soviet Union had a history of employing a diverse array of surveillance techniques, ranging from eavesdropping devices to satellite imagery. The idea that microwaves could be used as a tool for espionage was not completely out of character for the era. The story took a surprising turn in the late 1970s and early 1980s, when additional reports of similar microwave signals began to emerge from other embassies in different locations, leading to a broader investigation. The possibility that other nations could utilize such technology sparked concerns across the international community, enhancing the urgency for diplomatic discussions about potential health risks associated with microwave exposure. As decades passed, many experts began to view the Moscow signal as a point of intersection between technology and geopolitics. In an age where human interactions increasingly depended on communication technology, the idea of directed energy was both fascinating and frightening. The notion that a powerful tool could be employed in unseen ways raised complex ethical questions about privacy, safety, and the nature of peace between nations. Interestingly, the topic of directed energy continued to gain traction throughout the years, with advancements in technology opening up further avenues of exploration. Today, ideas surrounding directed energy weapons and their potential uses in modern warfare are being examined in various defense conversations. These developments lead to a renewed interest in the lessons learned from the Moscow signal, highlighting that while technology can enhance communication, it also introduces risks that must be carefully managed. In recent years, the Moscow signal has transformed from a Cold War mystery into a symbol of the tensions of that era and the complexities of subsequent advancements in technology. Researchers continue to analyze this historical incident not just as an isolated event, but as a lens through which the Cold War can be understood, while also considering contemporary implications in an age characterized by rapid technological change. The story of the Moscow signal reminds us of a simple truth. Our understanding of technology and its implications is an ongoing journey. As we delve deeper into the mysteries of the past, we uncover lessons that can inform our navigation of the present and future. In this way, unexplained phenomena, like the Moscow signal, challenge us to think critically, question norms, and remain vigilant about the impact of technology in our lives and on global relations. Though much time has passed since those unsettling days at the embassy, the legacy of the Moscow signal remains a point of fascination. It serves as a reminder of the tension between nations, the evolving nature of technology, and the necessity of understanding the unseen forces at play in our world. Each revelation invites us to explore new depths of inquiry, urging us to combine knowledge and curiosity as we look toward the horizon of discovery. Operation Chaos was a covert initiative launched during the late 1960s and early 1970s by the United States Central Intelligence Agency. The operation aimed to monitor and infiltrate various anti-war movements, civil rights organizations, and other domestic groups that were perceived as potential threats to national security. The initiative originally intended to gather intelligence on foreign influence within these domestic movements, but it evolved into a far-reaching surveillance program that raised significant ethical and legal questions. The initiative revealed extensive operations where the agency conducted surveillance on American citizens without their knowledge. This included the collection of personal information, wiretaps, and the use of infiltrators within activist organizations. The rationale behind these actions was grounded in the distrust of the societal upheaval occurring during that era, which included civil rights protests, anti-Vietnam War demonstrations, and various countercultural movements. The belief was that external forces might exploit these divisions for their own agendas. As time passed, the implications of Operation Chaos began to surface, exposing profound consequences, not only for the individuals involved, but for the nation as a whole. One significant consequence was a growing public skepticism toward government institutions. The realization that the government was surveilling its own citizens led to widespread anxiety and distrust. Many began to question the very foundations of democracy, particularly the concepts of privacy and civil liberties. Moreover, the impact on the organizations that were targeted was substantial. Many activist groups felt the effects of infiltrators, resulting in internal strife and distrust among members. This type of surveillance often stifled genuine activism and engagement, leading individuals to reconsider their involvement in movements. The shadow of surveillance changed the landscape of political activism, as people wondered whether their actions were being watched, ultimately suppressing free expression and dissent. The 1970s and 1980s saw significant legislative responses to revelations from Operation Chaos. A series of investigations, including those led by the Church Committee in 1975, examined the CIA's domestic activities and highlighted the need for greater accountability and oversight of intelligence operations. As a result, numerous reforms were enacted to ensure that intelligence activities would be conducted within the bounds of the law and respect for individual rights. These events served as a catalyst for an ongoing dialogue about the balance between national security and civil liberties. The tensions between surveillance and privacy rights became a pivotal topic in the context of civil liberties debates. The lessons learned from Operation Chaos remain relevant today, as society grapples with advanced technology, social media, and issues surrounding privacy in contemporary surveillance practices. In the years that followed, the legacy of Operation Chaos continued to reverberate through American society. Public discourse often returned to the importance of transparency and accountability in governmental practices. This historical moment serves as a reminder of the need for vigilance when it comes to protecting rights, especially in times of social unrest or crisis. Throughout the years, art and culture have offered reflections on the impact of such domestic spying initiatives. Literature, films, and documentaries have explored themes of surveillance, exposing the human experience behind the statistics. These artistic expressions invite audiences to empathize with individuals whose lives were altered by government scrutiny, further amplifying conversations about civil rights and government overreach. Operation Chaos stands as a significant chapter in American history, illustrating the consequences of unchecked surveillance and the importance of ethical governance. The continued exploration of these themes encourages a critical examination of the methods used in the name of security. As society navigates modern challenges, the discourse surrounding privacy and government authority remains vital, reminding us of the necessity to uphold democratic values and protect the rights of every individual. So as you reflect on the implications of such operations, consider the balance of individual freedoms with societal security. It's a complex interplay, one that demands awareness and vigilance. What lessons can we draw from the past, and how might they influence our approach to similar challenges in the future? These questions not only engage our understanding of history, but also compel us to envision a society where liberty and security coexist harmoniously, celebrating the rights that are often hard-won and easily overlooked. In conclusion, the revelations stemming from Operation Chaos continue to serve as a crucial reminder of the need for transparency, ethical conduct, and respect for civil liberties. The history surrounding these activities reveals an important narrative about accountability and the responsibilities of those in power, urging future generations to remain informed and engaged in the protection of fundamental rights. The ongoing dialogue surrounding these matters makes it clear that vigilance is essential in defending the principles that underpin a free society. In the world of government operations, there are secretive projects that play a crucial role during times of crisis. One such project is known as Project Greek Island. This initiative, shrouded in mystery, is designed as a relocation site for key individuals, government officials, and necessary personnel during emergencies. Although details remain classified, we can explore the concept and implications of such a project, imagining the measures in place to ensure safety and continuity of governance when facing extreme situations. Imagine a picturesque island, far away from bustling cities and the chaos of the modern world. This serene setting serves as a hidden refuge, where the government's most critical leaders can regroup and strategize, away from potential threats or disasters. The location is chosen not only for its beauty, but also for its strategic position. Surrounded by sparkling blue waters, it provides a layer of natural protection, making it harder for intruders to access. In the event of a national emergency, Project Greek Island comes into action. The preparation and planning that take place in the lead-up to such an event are meticulous. Individuals identified as essential, ranging from political leaders to key military figures, would receive instructions on how to reach this secluded site. The communication methods employed to relay this information would be secure and discreet, ensuring that no outsiders could intercept the plans. Once everyone is safely on the island, the environment is designed to evoke a sense of calm and focus. The facilities are equipped with modern technology, allowing for uninterrupted communication with bases of operations on the mainland. Envision a series of rooms filled with state-of-the-art equipment where decisions can be made swiftly and efficiently. This setup ensures that even in isolation, the flow of information remains intact, enabling leaders to respond to crises in real time. The island is not merely a retreat. It thrives on a sense of community among the individuals present. During moments of tension, sharing meals in a common dining area fosters camaraderie and connection. Picture leaders from various backgrounds, united by the common purpose of protecting their nation, exchanging ideas, formulating strategies, and discussing solutions over freshly prepared meals, and the sound of waves lapping against the shore. What makes Project Greek Island particularly intriguing is the seamless integration of security and comfort. The island is discreetly monitored, with personnel ensuring the safety of everyone present. Think about the invisible barriers that surround it, guarded entrances, surveillance systems, and perhaps a trained team making rounds, all contributing to a secure environment. Despite the seriousness of a government operation, the beauty of nature envelops the space, providing a peaceful backdrop during turbulent times. The project also includes provisions for psychological well-being. It is vital that the individuals who gather here can think clearly and effectively, without the weight of external chaos looming over them. The serene landscape, complete with lush greenery and open skies, serves as a reminder of the resilience of life, even in the face of adversity. Activities such as short walks along the beach or moments of reflection in tranquil gardens become essential parts of the daily routine on the island, allowing minds to recharge and refocus. As discussions unfold within the meeting rooms, it is fascinating to consider the myriad of scenarios that may arise. From natural disasters to geopolitical crises, the project acts as a contingency plan that prepares government leaders to respond proactively. This versatility is inherently valuable. By gathering the brightest minds, they engage in brainstorming sessions, creating solutions designed to safeguard citizens and maintain order. In addition to immediate responses, Project Greek Island embraces long-term strategies. Think about the planning that occurs during these retreats. Leaders might discuss sustainable policies and initiatives aiming to rebuild and strengthen the nation post-crisis. The island becomes a hub for innovation, where dynamic conversations lead to creative problem-solving, reflecting the real-time needs of a populace navigating uncertainty. Outside of the immediate operations, the implications of such a project extend into the realm of public interest. There's an element of intrigue surrounding the secrecy, curiosity about the individuals involved, the discussions taking place, and the decisions that will shape the future. Citizens are often unaware of the behind-the-scenes efforts aimed at ensuring stability and security, which only adds to the mystique of projects like Greek Island. When we envision a place like Project Greek Island, it represents not only a physical space, but a symbol of preparedness and resilience. It highlights the lengths to which governments go to protect their citizens, devising plans for every conceivable scenario. While the details remain elusive, the essence of such an initiative is a commitment to safeguarding democracy, values, and societal stability during pivotal moments in history. Ultimately, Project Greek Island embodies the balance between vulnerability and strength. In a world where uncertainty often reigns, imagining such a sanctuary becomes a testament to the enduring spirit of cooperation, leadership, and the unwavering drive to navigate the challenges ahead together. This project stands as a beacon of hope, reminding us that even in the darkest moments, there are safe harbors dedicated to preserving peace and order, steadfast in their mission. The Wild Weasel program is a fascinating chapter in the history of military aviation, particularly known for its innovative approaches to electronic warfare and the intricate dance between offensive and defensive strategies in air operations. This program emerged during the early 1960s and was originally developed by the United States Air Force as a response to the growing effectiveness of enemy air defenses in various conflict zones. The primary objective was to enable fighter aircraft to suppress or destroy hostile air defense systems, thereby allowing other aircraft to operate safely in contested airspace. At its core, the Wild Weasel concept revolves around the use of specialized aircraft, equipped with advanced technology designed to detect and engage ground-based radar systems. The term Weasel itself refers to the ability of these aircraft to hunt down enemy radar sites, much like a weasel stalks its prey. The most notable aircraft associated with the Wild Weasel program was the F-105 Thunderchief, which was modified specifically for this purpose. These aircraft carried a variety of electronic warfare equipment, including sophisticated radar jamming systems and anti-radiation missiles. One of the key tactics used by Wild Weasel pilots is known as seed and destroy. This tactic involves sending a Wild Weasel aircraft to locate and identify enemy radar installations. Once these sites are identified, the Weasel will often engage them directly, utilizing electronic jamming techniques to disrupt their operation. This would allow other strike aircraft to approach their targets without facing immediate threat from air defense systems. Another innovative tactic within the Wild Weasel program is the use of decoys. These decoys are designed to mimic the radar signature of an actual aircraft, tricking enemy defenses into targeting them instead. By drawing fire away from the real attacking aircraft, Wild Weasels enhance the chance of a successful strike on enemy installations. This clever manipulation of radar and targeting systems showcases the dynamic nature of aerial combat, where deception plays as crucial a role as firepower. Moreover, understanding the electronic landscape is vital for Wild Weasel operations. Pilots are trained to recognize various types of radar systems and signals emitted by enemy installations. This knowledge allows them to prioritize targets effectively and utilize the most appropriate countermeasures. For example, some radars are designed to track high-speed targets, while others may specialize in low-altitude detection. Wild Weasel pilots must be adept at reading and reacting to these signals, making split-second decisions based on real-time data. The evolution of technology has significantly impacted the Wild Weasel program. With advancements in radar and missile technology, the tactics employed have had to adapt as well. Modern aircraft, like the F-16 Fighting Falcon, have replaced older models and come equipped with even more advanced electronic warfare capabilities. These enhancements have allowed for greater precision in targeting enemy defenses while minimizing the risk to Allied forces. Internationally, the principles of the Wild Weasel program have influenced air operations beyond the United States. Other nations have recognized the importance of disrupting enemy air defense systems, leading to the development of their own similar tactics in aircraft. The concepts pioneered through the Wild Weasel program have become a foundational aspect of modern air combat strategies, emphasizing the significance of electronic warfare as an integral part of military operations. An interesting operational example that showcases the Wild Weasel tactics occurred during the Vietnam War. The conflict presented unique challenges, as North Vietnamese air defenses proved to be formidable. Wild Weasel pilots flew complex missions to pinpoint and neutralize these radar installations. Their bravery and strategic prowess illustrated the effectiveness of electronic warfare, significantly contributing to the overall combat effectiveness of U.S. air operations in the region. In addition to the technical aspects, the human factor plays an essential role in the Wild Weasel program. Pilots must possess not only exceptional flying skills, but also the ability to think critically under pressure. The stakes are high. They operate in hostile environments where enemy defenses are ready to react. Successful missions depend on teamwork, coordination, and a deep understanding of both the aircraft and the electronic landscape. Throughout its history, the Wild Weasel program has demonstrated the importance of adaptability in military strategy. As technology continues to evolve, so too do the tactics and approaches employed by those in the Wild Weasel community. The principles established by this program remain relevant today, serving as a testament to the ingenuity of military strategists and the brave individuals who operate at the front lines of aerial warfare. In summary, the Wild Weasel program represents a remarkable fusion of technology, strategy, and human skill in the domain of electronic warfare. Its innovative tactics provide an essential blueprint for modern military operations, highlighting the necessity of countering enemy air defenses to ensure successful missions. As we reflect on its legacy, we see how it has shaped the landscape of tactical air power and continues to influence the strategies of contemporary air forces around the globe. The story of Wild Weasel is not just about aircraft and systems. It is about the intersection of human creativity, strategic foresight, and the ever-evolving nature of warfare itself. The Venona Project was a highly classified initiative launched during the Cold War by American intelligence agencies, primarily the CIA and NSA, focusing on the decryption of Soviet communications. Undertaken in the 1940s, this project played a crucial role in the intelligence efforts of the United States and its allies during a tense period marked by suspicion and rivalry between superpowers. At the heart of the Venona Project was the desire to uncover and understand the communications of Soviet intelligence operatives. As the United States was still in the aftermath of World War II, there was increasing concern over the Soviet Union's intentions and activities. Espionage was rampant, and the potential threat of infiltration loomed large in the minds of American officials. In this climate of distrust, deciphering Soviet messages became a national priority. The project began in 1943 when American cryptographers stumbled upon a significant flaw in Soviet encrypting methods. The Soviets had developed a method known as one-time pad encryption, which was theoretically unbreakable when used correctly. However, many of the encrypted messages they intercepted contained errors, which opened a window for analysis and decryption. The effort started out small, with a handful of dedicated cryptanalysts working tirelessly to decode an ever-growing mountain of communication. As the project progressed, it became clear that it needed more resources and attention. The CIA began to take a more active role, coordinating efforts with the NSA. This collaboration marked one of the first significant partnerships between these two agencies, showcasing how they could work together to tackle mutual concerns, especially during a time when the stakes were incredibly high. This teamwork involved pooling together their personnel, expertise, and technological capabilities in a race against time to process and decipher the intercepted messages. By the late 1940s and early 1950s, the fruits of their labor began to surface. The backlog of decrypted messages started to yield valuable intelligence about Soviet espionage activities in the United States and around the world. One of the most notable outcomes of the Venona Project was the identification of several Americans who were alleged to be working with Soviet spies, including notable figures in the U.S. government. The information collected from decrypted messages contributed to a growing atmosphere of paranoia and suspicion within the United States, which ultimately led to a major anti-communist campaign. The content meshed together varied intelligence information, including reports about Soviet atomic aspirations, military strategies, and espionage activities. Such details provided American policymakers with insights that they would not have had access to otherwise. For example, the messages contained information about the Soviet atomic bomb program, which helped inform U.S. military and strategic plans during a critical time in history. Understanding the ambitions and capabilities of the Soviet Union became vital for American strategy and national security. Over the years, the Venona Project faced its share of challenges. The Soviets were constantly adapting their methods, making it difficult for American cryptographers to keep pace with their encryptions. Despite this, the U.S. intelligence community persevered. They expanded their teams, using advanced technology and linguistics experts to help crack codes and interpret the increasingly complex messages arriving from Soviet communications networks. The project remained classified for decades, which meant that many of the individuals involved operated in secrecy. But as time passed, broader awareness of the project's outcomes emerged, sparking a mix of reactions. Scholars and historians began to analyze its impact, leading to debates over the implications of the information gathered. Some argued that it justified governmental actions taken against alleged communists during the McCarthy era, while others cautioned against overreach fueled by incomplete understanding. In 1995, the U.S. government officially acknowledged the existence of the Venona Project, marking a significant moment for historical transparency. Thousands of decrypted messages were released, allowing researchers and the public to engage with the complex narratives behind espionage during the Cold War. This access illuminated not only the effectiveness of the project, but also highlighted the ethical dilemmas faced by those in power during a period filled with high stakes. The legacy of the Venona Project endures, reminding us of the intricate dance of espionage, politics, and secrecy that defined much of the 20th century. Its revelations continue to serve as a warning about the delicate balance between national security and civil liberties, as well as the lengths to which governments will go to protect their interests. The project stands as a testament to how intelligence can shape history, influencing decisions and strategies that reverberate through time. The partnership between the CIA and NSA within the framework of the Venona Project set a precedent for future collaborations in intelligence efforts. It highlighted the need for coordinated responses to emergent threats and established a model for effective communication between various agencies in the U.S. intelligence community. As international relations evolved and new challenges surfaced, the lessons learned from Venona continued to resonate in the way intelligence is gathered and shared. The complexities involved in decryption work, especially on such a grand scale, offer an intriguing glimpse into the hidden world of intelligence. Behind the scenes, countless hours of dedication, analysis, and teamwork transformed a series of seemingly indecipherable messages into impactful intelligence that shaped the course of history. Overall, the Venona Project remains a significant chapter in the annals of intelligence history, reminding us of the critical role that information plays in the domains of national security and international relations. The Mau Uprising, a pivotal moment in Kenya's struggle for independence, began in the 1950s and was marked by intense conflict between the British colonial government and the Kenyan freedom fighters. At the heart of this struggle was the quest for land, freedom, and basic human rights for the Kikuyu people, who had suffered the inequities imposed by colonial rule. What makes this historical narrative even more intriguing are the secretive roles played by external forces, particularly the British government and the CIA, as they navigated the turbulent waters of regional insurgency. To understand the full scope of the Mau Uprising, it's important to first explore its roots. The Kikuyu people, who formed the largest ethnic group in Kenya, were the primary actors in the Mau freedom movement. After World War II, many Kikuyu returning from the war were disillusioned by the continued oppression they faced under British colonial rule. The promise of land, already exploited by the settlers and the colonial government, fueled resentment and anger among the Kikuyu. The movement began as a response to the loss of land and cultural identity, evolving from a secret society into a full-blown armed rebellion. As the Mau gained momentum, British authorities conducted a crackdown on the movement. The colonial government saw the uprising as a direct threat to its control and initiated a campaign marked by arrests, detention camps, and violence. Thousands of suspects were detained without trial, and reports emerged of torture and abuse. It was a brutal, heart-wrenching time for the Kikuyu, yet their resilience in the fight for justice and rights stood as a testament to their spirit. What many do not know is that the British response was significantly bolstered by clandestine international support. As the Cold War began to shape global politics, the strategic importance of maintaining control over colonies in Africa became a top priority for Western powers. The uprising in Kenya drew attention not only from the British government, but also from the United States. The CIA, keenly aware of any rising tide of communism, viewed the Mau fighters' rebellion as part of a broader struggle against perceived leftist influences in the region. Their involvement was not about supporting colonization, but rather about preventing any anti-colonial movements from spiraling into Soviet influence. Documents and testimonies revealed that the CIA actively gathered intelligence on the Mau movement. They sent in agents to observe the tactics employed by both the Mau and the British forces. By understanding the insurgency's structure and methods, the CIA aimed to help the British maintain control over the situation and prevent the spread of what they deemed anti-American sentiment. This under-the-radar cooperation reflected the complexities of the geopolitical landscape of the era, wherein local struggles were often viewed through the lens of international relations. Moreover, over the years, declassified documents have indicated that the British were aware of the grievances that motivated the Mau fighters. However, rather than engaging directly with these issues or seeking a peaceful resolution, their focus remained on quelling the violence. During this period, the British developed counterinsurgency strategies that included psychological warfare and information control, studying successful tactics from other colonial conflicts worldwide. The inclusion of CIA tactics exemplifies how Western powers were willing to engage in covert operations to combat anti-colonial movements. The resolution of the Mau Uprising culminated in 1963 when Kenya eventually gained independence. However, the scars of the conflict and the complicity of foreign powers left a lasting impact on the nation and its people. The Mau fighters were celebrated in Kenya as heroes, yet they also faced a complex legacy, as many British and international narratives sought to diminish their significance while emphasizing the colonial state's perspective. The Mau Uprising and the behind-the-scenes intrigue of foreign involvement illustrate a rich tapestry of resistance and repression. The interplay of local and international forces during the revolt showcases not only Kenya's struggle for identity and autonomy, but also highlights how colonial powers were not merely fighting a local war, but were also engaged in the geopolitics of the time, with far-reaching implications that continue to resonate in global politics today. By examining the nuances of the Mau Uprising and the intervention of entities such as the British government and the CIA, we gain insights into a historical episode that shaped not just Kenya, but the broader trajectory of post-colonial Africa. This story of resilience against oppression serves as a reminder of the complexities involved in the fight for freedom, illustrating how intertwined local struggles are with the global narrative. The Mau Uprising remains a significant chapter in the history of colonialism, marked by both inspiring courage and the shadow of international interference that complicates the legacy of independence movements. The Gulf of Tonkin incident is a central event in the history of the United States' involvement in Vietnam, marking a significant escalation in military engagement. Understanding this incident requires delving into a mix of history, politics, and the complexities of warfare. In early August 1964, tensions in Southeast Asia were already high due to the ongoing conflict in Vietnam, where North Vietnam was increasingly supporting communist insurgents in the South. The United States, under President Lyndon B. Johnson, had been providing support to the South Vietnamese government in an effort to curb the spread of communism. The situation was delicate, and the U.S. was looking for reasons to increase its military presence in the region. On August 2, 1964, the USS Maddox, a U.S. Navy destroyer, was conducting patrols in the Gulf of Tonkin, close to the North Vietnamese coast. During this operation, the Maddox allegedly engaged 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats. The U.S. reported that the Maddox had fired warning shots and then returned fire, claiming to have sunk one of the torpedo boats. This encounter marked the first instance of direct military engagement between U.S. forces and the North Vietnamese Navy. However, things escalated even further on August 4, 1964. Reports emerged that the USS Maddox and another destroyer, the USS Turner Joy, were under attack again. This time, the situation was more chaotic, with U.S. naval personnel believing they were being targeted by enemy torpedoes. The details of what actually occurred during this reported second attack have been subject to intense scrutiny and debate over the years. In the wake of these events, Johnson and his administration moved swiftly to respond. On August 5, 1964, President Johnson addressed the nation, asserting that the U.S. would take all necessary measures to protect its forces and to prevent further aggression. This rhetoric set the stage for the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, which Congress passed almost unanimously shortly afterward. This resolution granted Johnson broad powers to escalate military action in Vietnam without a formal declaration of war. The passage of the Gulf of Tonkin resolution is notable not only for its immediate implications, but for what it reveals about the political climate of the time. The Cold War mentality loomed large, creating a sense of urgency and fear of communism spreading across Southeast Asia. Many politicians and military leaders felt compelled to act decisively, but the lack of clarity regarding the actual events of August 2 and 4 led to a number of questions about the validity of the U.S. response. In subsequent years, it became increasingly clear that the U.S. government had perhaps exaggerated or misrepresented the events of the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Evidence later surfaced suggesting that the second attack may not have even occurred as reported, with some naval officers questioning whether the ships had been targeted at all. This has raised critical discussions about the justification for U.S. military action, leading many to wonder whether the incident was leveraged to facilitate a more aggressive stance in Vietnam. As the U.S. escalated its involvement in Vietnam following the resolution, the conflict deepened significantly. The number of American troops in Vietnam soared from approximately 16,000 in 1964 to over 500,000 by 1968, accompanied by a massive bombing campaign. The war would become one of the most contentious conflicts in U.S. history, marked by intense opposition domestically and immense human suffering abroad. The Gulf of Tonkin incident also sparked widespread criticism and skepticism among the American public and historians. In the years that followed, many began to question the justifications for the expanded military presence in Vietnam. Critics argued that misleading accounts of events were used to rally public support, and that the government had failed to provide an honest assessment of the situation. Discussions surrounding the Gulf of Tonkin incident continue to resonate today. It serves as a compelling case study of how information can be manipulated in service of political objectives, shaping the course of history. The incident reminds us of the importance of questioning narratives and the complexities inherent in international relations and military conflict. Ultimately, the Gulf of Tonkin incident was more than a single event. It was a pivotal moment that demonstrated the intersection of perception and reality in warfare. It underscores the need for scrutiny and transparency in government actions, especially when lives are at stake. As we reflect on this historical moment, it becomes clear that the lessons it imparts remain relevant in contemporary discussions about military engagement and foreign policy. Understanding the events surrounding the Gulf of Tonkin aids not only in grasping the trajectory of the Vietnam War, but also in comprehending the broader implications for U.S. military intervention in the years that followed. The legacy of the Gulf of Tonkin continues to echo, reminding us of the profound impact that decisions based on questionable information can have on nations and populations around the world. Questions about accountability, transparency, and the ethical responsibilities of governments in times of conflict remain critical in ensuring that history does not repeat itself. Operation Ivy Bells was a top-secret mission developed by the United States during the Cold War, specifically in the 1970s, with the aim of gathering intelligence on Soviet communications. One of the most remarkable aspects of this operation was the innovative method used to tap into underwater cables that carried sensitive information across the ocean floor. The Soviet Union was heavily invested in its submarine communications networks, which were crucial for military and intelligence operations. These underwater cables were the veins of the Soviet naval communication system, carrying everything from orders to information that could determine the outcomes of various operations. The United States recognized that gaining access to this information could provide invaluable insights into Soviet strategies, capabilities, and movements. The execution of Operation Ivy Bells required a blend of advanced technology and audacious resolve. The primary tool utilized in this operation was the wiretap device, specifically designed to be hidden within the Soviets' own systems. Instead of directly intercepting communications, American operatives aimed to install these devices on the cables themselves. This innovative approach transformed the way intelligence was gathered, moving from traditional espionage to more technologically driven methods. A key element of the operation involved the use of submarines. The American Navy deployed specially equipped submarines to the frigid depths of the ocean, where they would trek to the locations of Soviet underwater cables. The crews involved underwent months of rigorous training, preparing them for the challenges they would face beneath the waves. These submarines would often operate under the cover of darkness, navigating the complex undersea environment to reach their targets. Once there, divers were deployed to carry out the delicate work of attaching the wiretap devices to the Soviet cables. These taps were ingeniously designed to be both compact and effective, allowing operators to intercept and record communications. The equipment used was marvels of engineering, incorporating sophisticated technology that was highly advanced for its time. Through these wiretaps, intelligence officers gained access to a vast trove of information. They were able to collect conversations and communications that revealed not only military strategies but also insights into political shifts and intentions of the Soviet leadership. It provided a window into how the Soviets were thinking, planning, and executing operations, which was crucial for American strategic responses. One notable aspect of the intelligence gathered through Operation Ivy Bells was the sheer volume of information. The operation was sustained over several years, enabling a continuous collection of communications. This not only helped the United States stay a step ahead, but also influenced decision-making at the highest levels of government. With a clearer view of Soviet intentions, policymakers could formulate more informed and effective responses to escalating tensions. However, the success of Operation Ivy Bells was not without its challenges. The complex underwater environment posed numerous risks, including detection by Soviet forces. If a submarine or a diver was discovered, it could lead to diplomatic disasters or even military confrontations. Careful planning and execution were essential at every stage of the operation. Eventually, however, the operation came to light. In the 1980s, details began to leak regarding the existence and success of Ivy Bells. This revelation posed challenges for intelligence gathering, as the Soviets became more aware of their vulnerabilities. Yet the legacy of Operation Ivy Bells stood as a testament to the lengths to which the United States would go to secure its national interests during a time of great geopolitical tension. In addition to its practical implications, Operation Ivy Bells also illuminated the intricate cat-and-mouse game of espionage that characterized the Cold War. The operation showcased the blend of technological innovation and human perseverance in a world where information could mean the difference between peace and conflict. Through the lens of Operation Ivy Bells, we gain a deeper understanding of the sophistication behind Cold War intelligence operations. It highlights how nations can utilize technology to outmaneuver one another, while emphasizing the importance of communication in international relations. The operation ultimately reminds us of the complex interplay between defense strategies and the quest for knowledge, illustrating that intelligence is not just about what is gathered, but about how it shapes the world stage. As we reflect on the intricate tactics employed during Operation Ivy Bells, it is clear that this narrative is just one of many episodes from a larger tapestry of intelligence and counterintelligence that defined an era. It encapsulates the ingenuity of human intellect and the relentless pursuit of safeguarding one's interests, presenting a fascinating story wrapped in secrecy, courage, and a quest for understanding in the icy depths of the ocean. In the late 1940s, a significant event unfolded in the heart of Europe, known as the Berlin Airlift. This remarkable undertaking showcased the determination and resilience of people facing dire circumstances. Following the end of World War II, Germany was divided into 4 zones, each controlled by the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the Soviet Union. The city of Berlin, nestled deep within the Soviet-controlled Eastern Zone, was similarly split into East and West. By June 1948, tensions between the Soviet Union and the Western Allies escalated. To exert pressure on the Western powers, the Soviet Union decided to block all ground access to West Berlin. This blockade included the roads, the railways, and even the waterways, cutting off supplies, food, fuel, and other essentials from reaching the residents of West Berlin. With an estimated 2 million people without adequate resources, the crisis required immediate action. In response to this severe humanitarian crisis, Western leaders initiated a massive airlift operation, understanding that the well-being of the citizens in West Berlin depended on their efforts. The U.S. and its allies quickly mobilized their resources, launching the Berlin Airlift in June 1948. The operation was characterized by a remarkable display of logistics and coordination, showcasing the power of human ingenuity in the face of adversity. Over the course of nearly a year, the airlift flew countless missions into West Berlin. Each day, hundreds of aircraft took to the skies, delivering essential supplies. It is fascinating to note that pilots would sometimes land just minutes apart, demonstrating perfect timing and coordination. These aircraft included not only military planes but also commercial airliners, which adapted to meet the urgent demands of the situation. As the months dragged on, the numbers were staggering. At its peak, the airlift delivered more than 13,000 tons of supplies each day. That included food, medicine, coal, and other crucial commodities necessary for survival. The amount of coal alone necessary to keep homes warm was significant, especially during the bitterly cold winters. Pilots risked challenging weather, the potential for mechanical failure, and sometimes even tensions with Soviet forces, who were determined to impose their will on the Berlin situation. The Berlin Airlift became not just a logistical victory, but a symbol of hope and solidarity. It represented the commitment of the Western Allies to resisting Soviet aggression and supporting the people of West Berlin in their time of need. The operation fostered a deep sense of community and unity among the citizens of West Berlin as they rallied together in the face of adversity, demonstrating a spirit of cooperation and resilience. One inspiring story from the airlift involved the Candy Bomber, a pilot named Gail Halvorsen, who decided to drop candy bars from his aircraft for the children of Berlin. After noticing that children would gather at the airfield to watch the planes take off and land, he began attaching small parachutes to candy and dropping them over the city. This simple act of kindness helped brighten the spirits of many children and fostered an enduring bond between Americans and Berliners, showing that even in difficult times, hope and joy could prevail. The airlift officially concluded in May 1949 when the Soviet Union lifted the blockade, marking a significant victory for the Western Allies. The Berlin Airlift left a lasting legacy on both sides of the Iron Curtain and is often viewed as a pivotal moment in the early years of the Cold War. It not only highlighted the humanitarian efforts of the time, but also the ideological divide that characterized post-war Europe. Today, the Berlin Airlift is remembered as a testament to human compassion and the lengths people will go to support one another in times of crisis. It serves as a reminder that even in the face of immense challenges, collective action and goodwill can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Celebrating this spirit is essential, as it empowers individuals and nations alike to come together for the greater good. The events of the Berlin Airlift are documented in numerous museums and historical sites throughout Berlin, reminding visitors of the perseverance and determination shown by those who participated in this monumental effort. The operation not only supplied necessities for a city on the brink of disaster, but also fostered enduring friendships and a commitment to freedom that continues to resonate today. As we reflect on the Berlin Airlift, It's essential to recognize the power of collaboration and the shared humanity that connects us all. Whether in times of crisis or moments of triumph, the spirit of helping one another remains a beacon of hope, guiding us toward a better future. During the Cold War, the Iron Curtain symbolized the division between the Eastern and Western blocs, creating a world marked by ideological conflict and secrecy. Intelligence gathering became paramount for both sides as they navigated this tense landscape. Among the methods employed, eavesdropping emerged as a critical tactic for gathering valuable information about Eastern Bloc nations. This fascinating aspect of espionage reveals how advanced techniques and clever strategies were employed to pierce the veil of secrecy that surrounded these countries. One of the primary tactics involved wiretapping, a method that allowed agents to listen in on communications through telephone lines. This might sound simple, but in practice it required intricate planning and technical expertise. Intelligence agencies developed sophisticated equipment to access phone lines covertly. In many instances, these wires were tapped in unassuming locations, and often, agents waited patiently for an opportunity to place these devices. Listening in on conversations provided insight into government plans, military strategies, and diplomatic relations, painting a clearer picture of the intentions of leaders across the Iron Curtain. Another effective method was the use of surveillance cameras and visual observation. When on the ground, intelligence operatives strategically positioned themselves to monitor the movements of key figures. This involved the use of binoculars or hidden cameras in a variety of locations, from rooftops to inside buildings. By carefully watching the actions and interactions of government officials, agents could piece together information about political maneuverings, military exercises, and even the morale of the citizens. This kind of detailed observation helped to compile comprehensive reports that were used for analysis in the broader intelligence community. In addition to human intelligence gathering techniques, advances in technological espionage played a significant role. In particular, the development and deployment of sophisticated listening devices became crucial. These devices could capture conversations from considerable distances and transmit them back to intelligence units, allowing for real-time analysis. The use of radio waves and other signals enabled spies to gather intelligence without ever being physically present at the location. Such technology expanded the capabilities of intelligence agencies dramatically, allowing them to gather vast amounts of information. Covert operations also included the use of informants, trusted individuals who provided inside information to intelligence agencies. These informants could range from military personnel to civilians who had access to sensitive information. By cultivating a network of relationships, intelligence operatives could gather valuable insights that were otherwise difficult to obtain. This human element of eavesdropping emphasized the importance of trust and discretion, as informants placed their lives and jobs at risk to share crucial intelligence. Another fascinating tactic involved the art of signal intelligence. This technique focused on intercepting and deciphering communications that were transmitted via radio, radar, or any electronic means. By monitoring these signals, intelligence agencies could gather information without direct contact. This required advanced listening stations equipped with powerful antennas and sophisticated software capable of decoding encrypted messages. This form of eavesdropping was particularly useful during military exercises or political negotiations, where communications could reveal critical information about intentions and strategies. The psychological warfare aspect of eavesdropping cannot be understated. The mere act of knowing that one's conversations could be monitored created an atmosphere of paranoia. Leaders and officials in Eastern Bloc nations would often behave differently, aware that their communications were susceptible to interception. This level of ongoing uncertainty influenced decision-making processes, and sometimes led to mistakes or miscalculations. The impact of eavesdropping extended beyond the mere gathering of information. It reshaped the strategies employed by nations on both sides of the Iron Curtain. Even public events were not beyond the reach of intelligence operations. Major diplomatic meetings, political rallies, and sensitive engagements were often subject to surveillance. The atmosphere surrounding such events was scrutinized closely, with agents leveraging their positions to gather information. There were instances where covert devices were planted in areas where officials congregated, allowing for the capture of essential dialogue that shaped relations between East and West. In addition to their immediate goal of obtaining critical information, eavesdropping operations sometimes served broader psychological and propaganda purposes. Revelations from intercepted communications would occasionally be leaked to the press or the public, shaping narratives that aligned with the interests of the Western Bloc. By disseminating this information, intelligence agencies could sway public opinion or instigate diplomatic tensions, thereby gaining a strategic advantage. Throughout the years, the tactics of eavesdropping relied on a blend of human ingenuity, technological advancement, and a deep understanding of the political landscape. The cat-and-mouse game that took place across the Iron Curtain led to evolving strategies, pushing the need for innovative thinking in the field of intelligence gathering. As these espionage techniques matured, so too did the response from the Eastern Bloc nations, creating an ongoing cycle of adaptation and countermeasures. Ultimately, the tactics used in eavesdropping during the Cold War forged a unique legacy within the realm of intelligence. They not only represented the lengths to which nations would go to protect their interests, but also underscored the elaborate web of secrecy and intrigue that defined the era. The shadows cast by the Iron Curtain illuminated a world driven by the pursuit of knowledge, where every whisper and glance could carry weighty implications for the delicate balance of power. The phrase, "we can neither confirm nor deny," is perhaps one of the most intriguing and enigmatic expressions in the realm of intelligence and secrecy, particularly associated with the activities of the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA. This phrase, often referred to as the Glomar response, first came into public view in the 1970s when it was tied to a highly classified retrieval operation. The operation aimed to recover a sunken Soviet submarine from the ocean floor, using a specially designed vessel known as the Glomar Explorer. The essence of the Glomar response is that it allows agencies to maintain secrecy about the existence or non-existence of certain operations or information. When a government entity uses this phrase, it typically means that disclosing any information could jeopardize national security or reveal sensitive operational details. The response effectively creates a veil of ambiguity, leaving the public aware that something is being withheld, but without any clear indication of what that might be. In essence, the Glomar response highlights a delicate balance between national security and transparency. This phrase springs from a context where classified information is a matter of significant importance. The CIA and other intelligence agencies operate under a mandate to protect the United States and its interests, which sometimes involves engaging in operations that require complete secrecy. One famous instance of this phrase arose when journalists and others inquired about the CIA's involvement in various activities over the years. Instead of outright denying or confirming specific actions or programs, officials would often respond using this phrase to neither acknowledge nor dismiss the inquiries. For instance, in cases involving covert operations, the simplicity of the phrase allows officials to deny involvement while simultaneously avoiding the risk of either lying or revealing critical intelligence. This response policy emerged during an era marked by heightened public scrutiny of government actions, especially following events like the Watergate scandal. As more people became aware of government overreach and misuse of power, the call for accountability rose. Amidst this environment, agencies required a mechanism to respond to inquiries without compromising the operational integrity that is vital to their missions. The phrase has transcended its original operational context and has become part of popular culture. It has popped up in films, television shows, and books, often used to evoke a sense of mystery and secrecy. This widespread usage reinforces the public's fascination with espionage, covert operations, and the murky waters of intelligence work. The Glomar response also raises vital questions about accountability. It shifts the responsibility of proof away from the government and places it on the public, who must accept that certain matters must remain undisclosed for various reasons, primarily concerning national security. This creates an environment where speculation can flourish, often resulting in conspiracy theories or unwarranted assumptions about what governments might be doing behind closed doors. Moreover, the application of the Glomar response is not limited to the CIA alone. Other governmental bodies also utilize similar language to navigate inquiries about sensitive information. This practice extends to agencies dealing with national defense, law enforcement, and even public health, showing the widespread recognition of the need for secrecy in certain operations. As society continues to advance into an era heavily influenced by technology and information sharing, the Glomar response remains a reminder of the complexities surrounding governmental transparency. In our increasingly interconnected world, often characterized by quick access to vast amounts of information, the balance between transparency and secrecy becomes more pronounced. The repeated use of the Glomar response has cultivated a perception of the government as shrouded in secrecy. The phrase embodies the conflict between the desire for the public to be informed and the necessity for certain information to remain undisclosed. It reminds us that while curiosity may be a natural human inclination, some topics are inherently sensitive and demand a level of discretion that may feel frustrating. In conclusion, the phrase, "we can neither confirm nor deny," serves as a fascinating case study in how language shapes public understanding of government operations and the perplexing world of intelligence. It encapsulates the intricate dance between secrecy and accountability, illustrating how decisions made in the name of national security can lead to broader discussions about trust and the role of government in people's lives. As we navigate the complexities of information in our world today, this phrase will undoubtedly continue to evoke intrigue and discussion about the invisible layers of our society. Deepwater cover operations refer to the complex and often covert actions undertaken by naval forces to achieve strategic objectives under conditions where visibility and certainty are limited. These operations have been used throughout history, but they gained particular prominence during the Cold War, when maritime strategies evolved in response to the growing threats posed by naval capabilities of rival nations. The essence of deepwater cover operations lies in their ability to operate under the radar, so to speak. The success of these operations often hinges on deception, the use of advanced technologies, and the element of surprise. In scenarios where the enemy may have superior detection capabilities or ambitious reconnaissance initiatives, naval planners employ various strategies that blend stealth and agility to maintain an advantage. One crucial aspect of these operations is the use of submarines. Submarines are inherently stealthy, making them ideal for deepwater operations. They can traverse vast oceans and remain undetected, providing essential intelligence on enemy fleets or surrounding naval activities. The CIA has frequently reported on the significance of submarine warfare in contemporary conflicts, emphasizing not just the tactical advantages they hold, but also the psychological impact they have on potential adversaries. For example, the knowledge that a submarine could be lurking nearby can instill a palpable sense of tension and uncertainty in enemy ranks. Another vital element of deepwater cover operations is the utilization of aircraft carriers. These floating cities project power far beyond the horizon, enabling a nation to deploy aircraft for reconnaissance, strike missions, and support operations in confused maritime environments. The presence of an aircraft carrier can act as a deterrent or a stabilizing force in tumultuous regions. Intelligence analysts at the CIA have often pointed out that the sheer visibility and operational flexibility of these vessels play a crucial role in shaping the dynamics of naval confrontations. In deep water, naval forces must also contend with the unpredictable nature of the maritime environment. Unclear circumstances may arise from varying weather patterns, unfamiliar terrain, or electronic warfare that disrupts communication channels. To navigate these complexities, operational strategies include conducting drills that emulate various situations, ensuring that crews are prepared to respond to unexpected challenges quickly. Advanced technologies, including satellite reconnaissance and underwater drones, have transformed deep-water operations. These tools provide real-time information and situational awareness, which is essential for making rapid decisions. The CIA's assessments underscore the importance of gathering and analyzing intelligence from these technologies. With accurate information, naval commanders can adjust their tactics and respond effectively to dynamic conditions. Camouflage and decoys also play significant roles in deep water cover operations. By mimicking the signals of battle-ready ships or using decoys to divert attention, fleets can mask their true numbers and intentions, thus confusing adversaries. History has shown that successful operations often rely on a combination of these strategies to achieve objectives with minimal risk. The geopolitical landscape continuously affects these operations. As nations increase their naval capabilities and explore the depths of ocean warfare, the challenges present in deep-water cover operations evolve. Modern naval strategies must now consider cyber threats, unmanned systems, and information warfare tactics that can influence outcomes without any physical engagement. The CIA and other intelligence agencies monitor these developments closely, gathering insights and providing timely assessments of how they affect maritime activities. In some instances, collaborations between nations shape how deep-water operations are conducted. Alliances may dictate the deployment of resources and sharing of intelligence, influencing both strategy and execution. Joint exercises serve not only to enhance interoperability, but also to send a message to prospective adversaries about the readiness and unity of allied forces. Successful deep-water cover operations require exceptional training and the seamless integration of various naval assets. Personnel must be adept at operating sophisticated technologies while maintaining a high level of operational security. In practice, this translates to constant drills, simulations, and a strong focus on teamwork. CIA analysts have commented on the importance of cultivating a culture of adaptability within naval ranks, emphasizing that in uncertain environments, the ability to think critically and adjust rapidly can make all the difference. Despite the challenges and uncertainties inherent in deep-water cover operations, they represent a cornerstone of modern naval strategy. As nations continue to adapt to shifts in global power dynamics, the importance of these operations in securing national interests remains paramount. The ability to operate effectively in deep waters will define the future of naval warfare, ensuring that strategies evolve not just in response to current threats, but with anticipation of what may come next. Understanding this complex arena opens a window into the intricate world of military operations, highlighting both the art and science behind naval strategy in the 21st century. The legacy of deep-water cover operations will undoubtedly continue to influence maritime tactics in the years to come, reminding us of the intricate balance between strength and stealth in the vast, unpredictable ocean. The Chinese opium trade is a fascinating chapter in history that reveals how international intelligence agencies were intricately involved in drug trafficking during the 19th and early 20th centuries. To fully appreciate this complex narrative, one must consider the social, economic, and political landscapes that shaped the opium trade and the players involved. Opium, a potent narcotic derived from the opium poppy, has been cultivated for centuries in Asia. By the early 1800s, British merchants were increasingly focused on this commodity due to its high profitability. They found a growing demand for opium in China, where it began to exert a profound influence on society. The British East India Company played a crucial role, cultivating opium in India and shipping it to China, ultimately leading to a massive trade network that fueled addiction and disrupted the local economy. At the heart of this trade were clandestine operations that often involved espionage and intelligence work. The British, in their quest for profit, sought not only to transport opium, but also to protect their trade routes. This required surveillance of local law enforcement and even Chinese government officials who were opposed to the opium trade. As restrictive measures were implemented by the Qing dynasty in attempts to curb the trade, secretive operations became increasingly necessary. The British utilized both diplomatic channels and covert intelligence to navigate these challenges, often employing local informants and spies to keep tabs on anti-opium campaigns. On the other hand, the Chinese government struggled to contain the widespread addiction that had gripped its population. The opium crisis was more than a social concern. It impacted national stability. In response, the Qing dynasty enacted strict regulations and sought to confiscate foreign opium shipments. This led to direct confrontations with British interests, culminating in the First Opium War from 1839 to 1842. During the conflict, intelligence played a vital role, with both sides gathering information about troop movements, strategies, and the morale of their adversaries. This conflict ultimately resulted in the Treaty of Nanking, which granted territorial concessions to Britain, including the cession of Hong Kong. The opium trade did not remain a purely commercial venture. It evolved into a geopolitical struggle with significant international ramifications. The British maintained a sophisticated intelligence network that extended throughout China, gathering insights that informed their policies and military actions. They monitored local uprisings and dissent, seeking to exploit any instability for financial gain. As the trade expanded, so did the necessity for protecting opium shipments, leading to increased naval presence in the region and collaborations with local warlords. The involvement of international intelligence agencies did not stop with the British. Other nations, including the United States and France, began to recognize the opportunities presented by the opium trade in China. They too employed various intelligence strategies to ensure their own trading interests were protected. Reports were exchanged and networks established, revealing an intricate web of international cooperation and rivalry around the opium economy. With the decline of the Qing dynasty, the opium trade continued to flourish, fostering an environment where various factions sought control. Warlords emerged, each with their interests tied to the ongoing production and distribution of opium. Intelligence operations became essential for managing relations with these powerful local figures, as foreign powers often found themselves in a position of need, negotiating alliances that benefited their interests in the opium market. Furthermore, the social consequences of opium were monumental. Addiction became rampant, leading to social unrest and dissatisfaction. The plight of the Chinese people led to a larger discourse on the ethical implications of the opium trade. International intelligence agencies not only focused on economy and militaristic strategies, but also had to address the growing moral outrage in their home countries about the consequences of such a trade on Chinese society. This often led to a double-edged sword of supporting opium trade for economic gain while dealing with the backlash of addiction. As the 20th century approached, global attitudes towards opium began to shift. International efforts to regulate and control drugs took form, leading to treaties that aimed to eliminate the trade altogether. These treaties required robust intelligence operations to monitor compliance and track illicit activities. Thus, the legacy of the opium trade continued to influence international relations and intelligence operations. In hindsight, the Chinese opium trade is not merely a tale of illicit commodities and forbidden pleasures. It illustrates the depths of human greed and the lengths to which nations will go to protect their interests. It also serves as a reminder of the repercussions borne by ordinary people when powerful entities exploit vulnerabilities. With an understanding of this intricate history, one can appreciate the complex interplay of economics, politics, and morality that characterize the opium trade and continues to inform discussions about drug trafficking today. Operation Gold, also known as Operation Stopwatch, was one of the most ambitious espionage initiatives during the Cold War, symbolizing the collaboration between the United Kingdom and the United States. This particular operation began in the late 1950s, when concerns about Soviet expansion and military capabilities grew immensely. Both nations shared a keen interest in gathering intelligence on the Soviet Union, particularly regarding its military communications. The idea behind Operation Gold was simple yet audacious: to dig tunnels underneath the Berlin Wall and the subsequent East Germany area to tap into communication lines. The goal was to intercept telegrams and telephone calls from the Soviet military and East German officials. This was a time when the world was on edge, and the fear of nuclear conflict loomed large. Gathering intelligence could mean the difference between safety and catastrophe. The project was launched in 1954, and it was initiated by the British Intelligence Agency, MI6, in collaboration with the American Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. The chosen location was not random. West Berlin was strategically significant as it was surrounded by East Germany, making it a perfect spot for spy operations. What made this operation stand out was its engineering aspect. The tunnel was designed to be a marvel of modern engineering, built by skilled labor, with an emphasis on secrecy and efficiency. Construction of the tunnel began without notifying the German authorities, or even a large portion of the local population. The task was fraught with challenges. Anything could compromise the delicate nature of the operation. The team worked tirelessly, digging over 1,400 feet and facing obstacles such as water mains and subterranean utilities. Establishing a tunnel this long was a monumental task, but despite the risks, progress moved forward. The engineering teams were not just relying on brute force. They utilized sophisticated techniques to ensure the tunnel remained concealed from East German surveillance. The secrecy surrounding the operation was paramount. It was essential to keep the Soviets unaware of their efforts. Any tip-off could jeopardize not just the project, but also the entire intelligence-gathering framework. By 1955, the tunnel was complete and connected to the Soviets' communication lines. The anticipation grew as the British and American operatives monitored the communications flowing through the wires. This was a golden opportunity to eavesdrop on critical conversations that would provide insights into Soviet strategies, military readiness, and intent. However, their monitoring did not go unnoticed. In a twist of fate, just days after tapping the communications, the East German government discovered the operation. There were many theories regarding how they became aware. Some believed it was through local informants, while others speculated that Soviet intelligence had caught wind of unusual activity in the area. Regardless of the cause, the operation came under severe scrutiny after just a couple of weeks of successful interceptions. The authorities sprung into action, and within no time the tunnel was discovered. The authorities capped it off and took immediate action to shut down any further unauthorized access. The operation was deemed a failure, and the intelligence community faced serious questions about how the plan was implemented and executed. For various reasons, it is said that the political climate was not ripe for such extensive risk-taking as the Cold War tensions continued to sway. Despite its premature end, Operation Gold had lasting implications on espionage tactics and international relations. It became a case study for covert operations, exploring what worked and what didn't in the field of intelligence gathering. Subsequent operations refined the techniques first implemented during this endeavor, and it stood as an important lesson on clandestine actions in hostile environments. In the grand scheme of the Cold War, Operation Gold was a stepping stone in the world of espionage. It illustrated the complexities and challenges of gathering intelligence in an age of paranoia and technological advancement. It highlighted the extent to which both the UK and the US were willing to go to protect their interests, often operating in the shadows and on foreign soil. Years later, the details of Operation Gold revealed much about the era's geopolitical tensions and the lengths to which countries would go to protect their own. While it might not have been the success that planners initially envisioned, it served as a reminder of the constant intelligence war that was taking place right under the noses of the unsuspecting public. The world may change, but the pursuit of knowledge and foresight often remains a core aspect of international diplomacy. Through the example of Operation Gold, we come to understand the critical importance of intelligence in international affairs. The political landscape is often altered by unseen battles fought in secrecy, where information becomes weaponized in the grand chess game of nations. Histories of espionage teach us that beneath the apparent calm of the world, hidden agendas and clandestine operations shape the future in ways we may never fully comprehend. Xenophon was a fascinating figure in ancient Greece, known for his contributions as a historian, soldier, and philosopher. Among his many works, one that stands out is Xenophon Stratagems, a remarkable text that delves into the art of military tactics and psychological operations. This text serves as an invaluable resource for understanding how cunning and strategy played a central role in warfare, demonstrating that battles are won not just through brute strength, but also through clever planning and the manipulation of human behavior. Xenophon's Stratagems is particularly intriguing because it goes beyond mere accounts of drilling and sword fighting. It explores how psychological operations can influence the outcomes of conflicts. This aspect is especially relevant in today's world, where strategies in marketing, negotiation, and leadership often draw on principles found in military contexts. In ancient times, as Xenophon notes, the ability to convince and outsmart an opponent often led to greater success than sheer numbers in an army. The text is organized into a series of stratagems, each illustrating a different nuance of military tactics. For example, one stratagem may recount a clever ruse where a commander exploits an enemy's overconfidence. By feigning a retreat, the commander could draw the enemy into a vulnerable position, allowing for a surprise counterattack. This strategy emphasizes the importance of deception and psychological manipulation in warfare. In another instance, Xenophon elaborates on the use of misinformation to disrupt enemy plans. He describes how spreading false intelligence can create confusion and fear among opposing forces, leading them to make costly mistakes. This technique is relevant far beyond the battlefield, as it underlines the significance of perception and belief in shaping reality. Xenophon's insights extend into the realm of leadership as well. He discusses how strong leaders can inspire loyalty and motivate troops, creating a united front that can withstand external pressures. This idea resonates with modern-day concepts of emotional intelligence and effective leadership, illustrating that understanding human emotions and motivations can be a powerful tool in any environment. Throughout Stratagems, the interplay between strategy and psychology is a recurring theme. For example, Xenophon turns his attention to the morale of soldiers, emphasizing that a well-fed and well-treated army performs better. He speaks to the importance of creating a positive environment where troops feel valued and respected, which in turn fosters their commitment and readiness to fight. He also offers practical examples of how to exploit advantages during combat. By carefully observing the terrain, a commander can choose battlegrounds that favor their forces. An understanding of the environment can often turn the tide of battle. Xenophon's work reminds readers that knowing the landscape and using it to one's advantage requires not just insight, but also careful planning. In the narrative of military encounters, Xenophon often highlights unexpected outcomes brought about by cunning strategic decisions. This unpredictability adds an element of excitement and complexity to warfare, showing how intelligence gathering and timely action are just as crucial as preparation and strength. These stories keep readers engaged, revealing the drama and tension inherent in ancient military conflicts. Moreover, examining historical examples of battle strategies illustrated by Xenophon provides a window into the mindsets of ancient generals. His analysis allows modern readers to draw parallels between ancient and contemporary strategies, showing that while tools and technology have changed, the essence of strategy remains the same. The psychological dimensions of warfare contained in his narrative can be applied to various fields, from business tactics to sports psychology. Intriguingly, Xenophon also reflects on the role of communication in coordinating efforts during campaigns. He emphasizes that clear and effective communication among troops can prevent chaos and enhance teamwork, a lesson that resonates in all collaborative efforts today. By illustrating the importance of communication, he guides readers to appreciate its significance in achieving common goals. Another captivating aspect of Stratagems is its collection of anecdotes and real-life scenarios, making the text not only educational but also enjoyable to read. The narratives are rich with vivid descriptions of battles, clever maneuvers, and the trials faced by commanders. These stories, often laced with initial failures turning into later successes, add depth and make the tactics more relatable. Xenophon's experiences as a soldier and leader provide authenticity to his teachings. The first-hand perspective lends weight to his advice, demonstrating that these strategies are not mere theories but tested methods that emerge from real battlefield dynamics. This practical insight encourages readers to contemplate how these lessons can be woven into everyday life. As one delves deeper into Xenophon Stratagems, it becomes clear how these ancient teachings continue to resonate. The principles found within can be seen in various aspects of modern governance, business competition, and conflict resolution. The timeless nature of these strategies can inspire creative approaches to overcoming obstacles and challenges in our own lives. In conclusion, Xenophon Stratagems is much more than just a military manual. It is a rich tapestry of historical insight woven with practical strategies for understanding human behavior and decision-making. Through its exploration of psychological operations, it reveals that the intelligence behind a strategy is a crucial component of victory. As we unravel the stories and lessons within this ancient text, we are reminded of the enduring principles of strategy that apply not only on the battlefield, but in the myriad challenges we face every day. The Echelon Network is a fascinating and complex global surveillance system, known for its role in intercepting and processing communications around the world. Developed during the Cold War, this network has since evolved to keep pace with the growing demand for intelligence and security in an increasingly interconnected world. Imagine a vast web stretching across the globe, linking multiple listening stations, satellite systems, and ground-based intercept facilities. This network is primarily operated by a coalition of intelligence agencies from 5 major countries: the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. These countries form what is called the Five Eyes Alliance. Each country brings its own unique capabilities and resources to the table, creating a comprehensive approach to intelligence gathering. The origins of the Echelon Network can be traced back to the late 1940s, particularly after World War II, when the geopolitical landscape began to shift. The need for robust intelligence to monitor potential threats and maintain national security became paramount. Echelon was designed to intercept various forms of communication, including telephone calls, emails, and satellite transmissions. This capability allows the member countries to gather information on activities that may pose a risk to their interests. One of the key features of the Echelon system is its ability to process vast amounts of data. With the rise of digital communication, the challenges of information overload have grown exponentially. To effectively manage this, Echelon employs advanced algorithms and filtering methods to sift through millions of conversations and messages. This technology allows analysts to focus on conversations of particular interest, such as those related to terrorism, drug trafficking, or other illicit activities. As technology has advanced, so too have the methods used to intercept communications. Satellites play a crucial role in this endeavor, orbiting the Earth and capturing data transmitted through various networks. These satellites can take in signals from a wide range of sources, enabling intelligence agencies to monitor communication trends in real time. Ground stations, strategically located around the world, serve as the hubs for this data, allowing for rapid analysis and dissemination of intelligence. Echelon's reach is truly global. Its surveillance capabilities stretch into regions that might otherwise remain untouched, providing a security blanket for the member countries. This has sparked ongoing debate surrounding privacy and civil liberties. The sheer scale of monitoring has raised concerns about the potential for misuse of the information gathered, and whether individuals' rights are being compromised in the name of security. Throughout the years, the existence of Echelon has been the subject of much speculation and intrigue. Many believe that its capabilities extend well beyond standard intelligence gathering. Reports have suggested that Echelon may also engage in economic espionage, targeting foreign companies and governments to gain competitive advantages. Such assertions further complicate the already intricate landscape of international relations, where trust and cooperation are essential. In the face of this vast surveillance network, one might wonder about the ethical implications of its operation. The tension between national security and individual privacy continues to be a hotly debated topic. Advocates for transparency argue for clearer boundaries on what constitutes acceptable surveillance, while others maintain that in a world facing numerous threats, such measures are necessary for safeguarding national interests. Additionally, the global aspect of the Echelon network highlights the importance of international collaboration. The Five Eyes nations share intelligence and resources, enabling them to respond to evolving threats more effectively. This collaborative approach has led to numerous significant achievements in countering terrorism and other forms of organized crime. As we explore the technological advancements that enhance Echelon's functionality, it's clear that the network is continuously adapting. From machine learning algorithms to artificial intelligence, these innovations have made it possible to analyze complex data patterns and extract actionable insights efficiently. The future of such technology promises to refine surveillance methods even further, allowing for quicker identification of potential threats and streamlined communication among allied intelligence agencies. The Echelon network stands as a striking example of how intelligence gathering has transformed in the modern age. While it may evoke concern for some, it is undeniably a crucial component of national security for the nations involved. Understanding its origins, operations, and implications is essential in grasping the delicate interplay of security, privacy, and collaboration in today's world. As technology and global dynamics evolve, so too will the landscape of surveillance. The conversation surrounding Echelon provides a unique lens through which we can examine the broader implications of intelligence activities and their impact on society. It reminds us that in a world interconnected by technology, the threads of freedom, security, and ethical considerations are intricately woven together, creating a complex tapestry that continues to develop with each passing day. The 1980s marked a period of intense scientific exploration and innovation, particularly in the field of biology. During this decade, researchers began to delve deeper into the biological effects of various substances, some of which raised ethical questions and sparked significant public concern. One of the most notable areas of focus was the study of toxic substances and their impact on living organisms. Scientists sought to understand how chemicals, both natural and synthetic, affected biological processes. This was particularly crucial as industries expanded, leading to the widespread use of chemical compounds in agriculture, manufacturing, and everyday products. Pesticides, for example, were extensively researched. At the time, there was a growing dependence on these chemicals for crop production. Researchers conducted experiments to study the long-term effects of pesticide exposure on plants and animals. They found that certain pesticides could disrupt hormonal systems, leading to reproductive issues in various species. This kind of research could reveal the delicate balance of ecosystems and the potential consequences of introducing new chemicals into the environment. Another significant area included studies on the effects of heavy metals, like lead, cadmium, and mercury, which were common pollutants due to industrial activities. Experiments often involved exposing small animal models to these metals to observe the physiological and genetic impacts. Findings showed clear evidence of toxicity, such as neurological damage and impaired development. These studies were pivotal in advocating for stricter regulations to limit exposure to harmful substances in both industrial and residential settings. Furthermore, the 1980s saw an increased focus on understanding the implications of radiation exposure. Experiments were conducted to assess how different levels of radiation affected cellular processes. While beneficial for advancements in medical technologies, the potential dangers of radiation became a primary concern, leading to discussions around safety guidelines and environmental cleanup processes. The decade was also marked by advancements in genetic research, which introduced new avenues of experimentation. The advent of recombinant DNA technology allowed researchers to manipulate genetic material in ways previously unimaginable. While this presented opportunities for medical breakthroughs, it also led to debates about bioethics and the potential for unintended consequences. Scientists examined how genetically modified organisms interacted with natural environments, looking for both promised benefits and possible drawbacks. Amid these experimental advances, there were also instances of controversy regarding ethical standards. Some experiments, particularly those involving human subjects, raised questions. Researchers sometimes face dilemmas about the potential risks involved, especially when dealing with substances known to be hazardous. Conversations around informed consent and the moral responsibilities of scientists became increasingly important during this period. The need for ethical oversight in research was underscored, leading to the establishment of more stringent guidelines in subsequent years. As these studies unfolded, public awareness began to rise concerning environmental health. Communities started to question the safety of the materials they were using or exposed to. Science communication became crucial. Educating the public on the potential risks versus benefits of certain substances became a priority, especially when discussing findings from experiments that examined complex toxicological interactions. In the biomedical field, the decade also saw significant movements toward understanding drug effects on human health. Studies on the efficacy and safety of various pharmaceuticals were conducted rigorously. The need to investigate the side effects of medications became apparent, with researchers employing clinical trials to ensure that the benefits of drugs outweighed any potential harms. Animal testing was a significant part of this experimentation landscape. Controversy arose over the ethics of using animals in research, with advocates calling for humane treatment and alternatives whenever possible. The debates highlighted the tension between scientific discovery and animal welfare, prompting discussions on how to balance these important aspects of research. In summary, the 1980s were a pivotal decade for biological experiments that investigated the effects of potentially harmful substances. The research conducted during this time laid the groundwork for subsequent advancements in health, environmental safety, and ethical standards in scientific research. Scientists worked diligently to uncover the complexities of biological interactions with various substances, leading to effects that would shape regulations and societal perceptions for years to come. The efforts made in this era illustrate how science, while sometimes fraught with challenges, ultimately strives to enhance understanding and promote well-being. In the midst of the Cold War, tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union reached a boiling point. Each side engaged in a fierce competition not only for military power but also for political influence and technological advancement. Amidst this backdrop of espionage, intrigue, and innovation, a peculiar project emerged from the depths of American intelligence agencies, Project Acoustic Kitty. Imagine a world where cats, those often aloof and seemingly indifferent creatures, became the unlikely stars of espionage operations. This ambitious project, initiated by the Central Intelligence Agency, aimed to train cats to act as surveillance operatives. The concept was both innovative and whimsical, as it sought to harness the innate stealth and curiosity of felines to gather sensitive information without raising suspicion. The initial idea sprang from the understanding that cats possess an exceptional hearing ability. Their acute sense of sound allows them to detect the faintest noises, making them ideal candidates for listening devices. Unlike human operatives who could be easily detected or interrogated, a cat could blend seamlessly into any environment, from busy city streets to quiet, secluded parks. This stealthy nature, combined with their natural behavior, inspired the CIA to explore the potential of using these beloved pets for clandestine missions. The project kicked off in the early 1960s. Program managers at the CIA were determined to overcome the challenges of training a cat for espionage. To achieve this, researchers sought to create a system where cats could carry listening devices without being hampered by their natural instincts. Typical training methods were employed, but both handlers and cats faced challenges unique to feline behavior. Unlike dogs, cats do not easily obey commands. Therefore, the training had to be more nuanced and understanding of their unique traits. Engineers began working on a solution, a surgically implanted microphone and transmitter that would allow the cat to capture sounds from its environment. This ambitious endeavor required thorough testing to ensure the devices were lightweight enough not to hinder the cat's movement, while still being powerful enough to transmit data effectively. Additional research went into understanding how to ensure that the cats remained calm and functional with the devices attached to them. Once the technology was developed, the CIA conducted several field tests. Cats were often placed in carefully selected locations, such as outside Soviet embassies, party meetings, and other critical areas where intelligence gathering was deemed necessary. The idea was simple yet revolutionary: let the cat roam, listen, and report back. However, things did not unfold gracefully. One of the most notable field tests involved a cat named Acoustic Kitty. After undergoing surgery to implant the necessary equipment, Acoustic Kitty was released into a bustling park, where diplomats often met for personal discussions. The hope was that, perched casually on a bench, the cat would overhear important conversations and relay that information back to its handlers. Unfortunately, the field test did not go as planned. Almost immediately after being released, Acoustic Kitty wandered into the street and was struck by a taxi. The unfortunate incident was a turning point for Project Acoustic Kitty. Despite the initial enthusiasm and investment in this cutting-edge initiative, the challenges of training felines for espionage proved overwhelming. In contrast to dogs, who are known for their loyalty and eagerness to please their handlers, cats have a mind of their own. They could easily become distracted, lose focus, or simply decide to ignore commands. The project encountered increasing skepticism within the agency and was eventually deemed impractical. The resources required to train cats for such operations began to outweigh the potential benefits. The whimsical idea ultimately transformed into a somber realization that while pets might make charming companions, their role as spies may have been more fantasy than reality. In hindsight, Project Acoustic Kitty represents a fascinating chapter in the history of intelligence gathering. It serves as a reminder of the lengths to which agencies will go in their quest for knowledge and security. The colorful narrative of using cats in espionage operations speaks to the unique creativity born from the frantic, high-stakes atmosphere of the Cold War era. While the project never achieved its intended goals, the thought of furry little cats being enlisted for covert missions invites a chuckle. It highlights the often serious nature of espionage work, while simultaneously reminding us of the captivating and occasionally strange ideas that emerge when innovation meets necessity. Even today, the story of Acoustic Kitty remains a curious footnote in the chronicles of espionage. It leads us to ponder about the unconventional methods employed in the pursuit of understanding and the surprising roles that animals have played in human endeavors throughout history. While not successful in its true purpose, the tale of Acoustic Kitty continues to capture imaginations and sparks conversations about creativity and problem-solving, the nature of animals, and the intriguing possibilities of blending technology with the natural world. It's a charming escapade in a world filled with intrigue, further demonstrating that sometimes the most unconventional ideas can lead us to reflect on the unpredictable paths of human ingenuity. In recent years, a puzzling phenomenon has captured the attention of scientists, government officials, and the public alike, the so-called Havana Syndrome. Since its emergence in 2016, this series of unexplained ailments has affected numerous U.S. diplomats and their families, primarily in Cuba, leading to a flurry of theories and investigations regarding its origin and effects. The initial reports surfaced in Havana, where U.S. embassy personnel began experiencing a range of unusual medical issues. Individuals reported symptoms such as dizziness, headaches, cognitive difficulties, and hearing strange noises. These symptoms emerged suddenly and often without warning, leading to distress and confusion among those affected. Some recalled experiencing a feeling of pressure in the head, while others mentioned hearing a strange sound or sensation just moments before their symptoms began. As more cases came to light, it became apparent that the phenomenon was not isolated. Diplomats stationed in China, Russia, and even within the United States reported similar ailments. This spreading concern sparked a myriad of investigations, with officials pondering whether these incidents were a result of a targeted attack or an environmental factor in the locations where the diplomats were stationed. Speculation ranged from sonic weapons to exposure to toxic substances, and the uncertainty only compounded the fears surrounding these unexplained ailments. One of the most captivating aspects of Havana Syndrome is its mysterious nature. Despite the thorough investigations, including studies by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the State Department, a definitive cause remains elusive. Experts have considered various possibilities. Could these symptoms result from psychological factors, or were they perhaps the consequence of a new technology that is yet to be fully understood or disclosed? The uncertainty leaves much to be deciphered, leading to ongoing debates within scientific, medical, and political circles. Among the most intriguing hypotheses is the notion of directed energy. Some researchers have proposed that microwave or radio frequency energy could be responsible for the symptoms experienced by those affected. This theory gained traction, as some of the symptoms seemed to correlate with specific locations or events in which the diplomats found themselves, leading to questions about whether a specific device or signal could be targeting them. While some elements of this theory hold merit, challenges remain in proving causation, and scientists continue to investigate this potential avenue cautiously. Another layer of complexity arises from the psychological dimensions associated with the reported experiences. Some experts argue that situational stress, combined with the heightened security environment in which diplomats operate, may contribute to the manifestation of these symptoms. Psychological responses to stress can lead to physical manifestations, and in a high-pressure job like diplomacy, these can be exacerbated. This perspective invites further exploration into the mental health implications of living and working in environments perceived as dangerous. Despite the challenges in unraveling the mystery of Havana Syndrome, the brave individuals who reported these ailments have sparked more profound discussions about the health and safety of those serving abroad. The U.S. government has taken heed of these reports, advancing medical evaluations and support for diplomats and their families. This response highlights the significance of addressing health concerns within the realm of international diplomacy. In the broader context, Havana Syndrome serves as a vital case study in how unexplained health issues can ripple through communities and nations, influencing readiness, policy, and perceptions of safety. The need for vigilance against potential threats, whether physical or psychological, has led to increased awareness and preparedness strategies among diplomats and public health officials. As scientists and government representatives diligently work to shed light on the origins of these puzzling ailments, many questions remain. How do we approach health risks in uncertain environments? What measures should be taken to protect those serving their countries abroad? The ongoing inquiry into Havana Syndrome is essential not only for future diplomats, but also for understanding how we interpret and respond to unexplained health phenomena. In closing, the story of Havana Syndrome is still unfolding. What began as a series of alarming reports has transformed into an intricate puzzle involving medical, scientific, and geopolitical dimensions. As investigators seek to unravel the mystery, the affected individuals remind us of the complexities of health and well-being in our increasingly interrelated world. The hope remains for clarity and answers that could enhance the safety and health of those dedicated to serving abroad. This enigma continues to draw interest from across disciplines, ensuring that it will remain in the spotlight for some time as we strive to understand the unexplained and safeguard those who venture into the unfamiliar. The Gulf War, often remembered for its swift military campaign and dramatic visuals, also holds a complex narrative of intelligence operations that played crucial roles behind the scenes. As we delve into declassified insights, we uncover new perspectives that provide a deeper understanding of how intelligence shaped outcomes during this significant conflict. At the heart of the Gulf War was the thorough collection and analysis of intelligence, primarily from satellite imagery and signals interception. These systems allowed the coalition forces to monitor Iraqi troop movements and fortifications. Before the conflict erupted in August 1990, intelligence agencies scrambled to gather information on Iraq's military capabilities. This involved everything from analyzing troop strength to assessing the potential for chemical and biological weapons. The declassification of reports reveals that key decisions were often based on interpretations of incomplete data. One remarkable aspect of intelligence operations was the role of the National Security Agency, which executed extensive signals intelligence. The interception of communications provided insights into Iraqi military strategy and morale. The declassified files shed light on the urgency with which intelligence analysts decoded these transmissions. For instance, they uncovered that Iraqi forces were poorly equipped to face a coalition of advanced military technologies. This intelligence helped shape the coalition's strategic planning, allowing for precision strikes that would minimize collateral damage and maximize operational effectiveness. Additionally, human intelligence, or HUMINT, played a critical role throughout the conflict. The collection efforts relied on various sources, including defectors from the Iraqi military. Declassified insights reveal fascinating accounts, such as a defector who provided information about the layout of Baghdad and military installations. This kind of information became invaluable for targeting efforts. The juxtaposition of satellite data with these personal testimonies enriched the coalition's overall strategic framework. A pivotal moment during the Gulf War was the use of psychological operations. Declassified documents show how the coalition sought to undermine Iraqi morale by broadcasting messages directly to soldiers. These broadcasts served to inform them about the consequences of continued resistance and offered safe ways to surrender. Research indicates that this psychological tactic was surprisingly effective, and led to surrenders that further diminished resistance among Iraqi forces. Moreover, the importance of misinformation cannot be understated. The coalition engaged in operations designed to mislead Iraqi leaders about where strikes would occur, which, when analyzed, appears as a rudimentary yet effective tactic. Intelligence experts now recognize that the careful orchestration of information played a fundamental role in ensuring the success of the air campaign. This strategy was not without its risks, as misleading information could backfire. Fortunately, careful oversight and planning led to successful outcomes in most scenarios. As the war progressed, the integration of intelligence became ever more critical. In the days leading up to the ground assault, coalition forces utilized preemptive strikes based on local and regional intelligence assessments. Declassified accounts reveal a vivid picture of the chaos amid the preparations, with varying opinions on the importance of certain intelligence reports. Fading trust in some intelligence led to heated debates among commanders about the robustness of these assessments. Long after the conflict ended, the legacy of these intelligence operations continues to evolve. Analysts now have the benefit of hindsight, allowing them to reflect on the lessons learned and the consequences of intelligence failures, specifically regarding the assessments of Iraq's chemical weapons program. Those misjudgments highlight the profound complexity in collecting and analyzing data under uncertain conditions, reinforcing the notion that intelligence is not merely about gathering facts, but interpreting them effectively. Furthermore, as we digest more declassified insights, the discussion of technological advancements during the Gulf War takes precedence. The use of GPS and drone technology changed the landscape of modern warfare forever. These advancements owe a significant debt to the intelligence operations that preceded them. The insights gleaned from the Gulf War informed future conflicts, forging a new era of warfare where intelligence integration is paramount. In summary, the Gulf War serves as a glaring example of how intelligence operations function at the intersection of information collection, technological advancement, and military strategy. As new perspectives continue to emerge from declassified sources, we gain a greater appreciation for the intricacies involved in intelligence efforts. The challenge remains not only in gathering data, but in analyzing and using that information to make informed decisions that can shape the course of events in critical moments. The vast and complex nature of these operations emphasizes that the realm of military intelligence extends far beyond mere observation. It encapsulates a sophisticated web of analysis, interpretation, and strategic foresight that remains relevant in today's world. Understanding the Gulf War's intelligence operations provides clarity on the lessons learned, setting a precedent for intelligence in all future military engagements. Therefore, shedding light on these declassified insights offers a valuable opportunity to reflect on not only the past but also the future of military strategy and intelligence. Invisible ink has a rich history, particularly when it comes to espionage and covert communications. The Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, has employed various techniques and tools over the years to ensure messages remain hidden from prying eyes. This intriguing world of clandestine communication combines chemistry, artistry, and a bit of historical context to create a captivating tale. At its core, invisible ink refers to substances that are used to write messages that are not readily visible to the naked eye. One of the oldest forms of invisible ink involved the use of natural substances. Early examples include lemon juice, which, when applied to a piece of paper, remains invisible until heated. This method dates back to ancient Greece and has fascinated historians and enthusiasts alike. As time progressed, the art of invisible ink evolved. The CIA employed various techniques that used a range of chemicals to ensure their messages stayed clandestine. One notable method was the use of harmless substances like milk or vinegar, which would only reveal the message when subjected to heat or a particular chemical reaction. Adding to the intrigue, spies sometimes used two different inks in a single message, one that would remain invisible until revealed under certain conditions, and another that would fade or change color, adding an additional layer of complexity. In the context of wartime communications, the CIA and its predecessors frequently adapted their techniques based on the needs of the moment. For instance, during World War II, agents often used specially formulated inks that reacted to changes in temperature or light. This was particularly useful in environments where spies needed to communicate with one another while avoiding detection by enemy forces. The successful use of such invisible inks required not only a deep understanding of chemical properties but also a creative approach to message composition. The tools used in this covert communication evolved as technology advanced. One such tool was the invisible ink pen, specifically designed to hold a special ink that would only appear under particular conditions. The CIA sometimes employed pens that could switch between an invisible ink and a visible ink, allowing agents to write secure messages that could be easily deciphered by those in the know. Another fascinating method involved the use of not just invisible ink, but also various coding techniques. Essentially, agents would combine invisible ink with certain cipher techniques, layering their messages with intricate codes. This means that even if an enemy managed to decipher the ink, the message would still remain a mystery unless they possessed the key to the code. Communication, then, became a multifaceted dance of chemistry and logic. Advancements in technology also paved the way for new methods of invisible communication. As photography techniques improved, the CIA explored options like microdots, tiny photographs containing hidden information. By taking advantage of contemporary technologies, undercover agents had numerous ways to relay messages to one another, further reinforcing the importance of discretion and ingenuity in their operations. Invisible ink wasn't just limited to traditional written messages, it often extended into more imaginative realms as well. In some cases, spies would use it in conjunction with other forms of disguise and misdirection. For example, messages might be concealed in books, hidden within decorative art, or even within textiles. The intersection of art and espionage added another layer of complexity to communications, where aesthetic decisions could significantly impact the success of a covert operation. The importance of tracing back the techniques used in historical espionage reveals much about the complexity of human interactions, trust, and deception. Each invisible ink method is a reminder of the ingenuity and resourcefulness that emerge in the shadows of conflict and secrecy. It teaches us about communication itself, how easily messages can be hidden or disguised, and how the art of conveying information can pivot on the smallest details. In our modern era, elements of these historical techniques still resonate. While technology has drastically changed the landscape of communication, from emails to secure messaging apps, the fundamental principles of ensuring privacy and discretion remain relevant. Protecting sensitive information is still a priority, whether through technology, encryption, or by employing age-old methods like invisible ink. Today, the narrative surrounding invisible ink and its use by organizations such as the CIA continue to captivate imaginations. They encourage curiosity about the lengths individuals might go to in pursuit of clandestine communication and the transformative impact of secrecy on history. As we uncover new stories and revelations from the world of espionage, we're reminded that information is power, and sometimes the most profound messages are the ones that remain hidden in plain sight. The exploration of covert communications teaches us not just about historical espionage, but about the very nature of perception, trust, and the power of hidden truths. In conclusion, the exploration of invisible ink within the realm of covert CIA communications is a fascinating journey that interweaves chemistry, creativity, and ingenuity. This world of secret writing evokes a sense of wonder and respect for the lengths to which individuals have gone to protect their messages. Each ink formula and each message crafted encapsulated human stories filled with ambition, intrigue, and, often, immense risk. It serves as a reminder that communication has always been a safeguard of human connection, even when it must remain hidden beneath the surface. During World War II, the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin developed and implemented a complex and far-reaching spy network that significantly influenced the course of the conflict. This network was not only pivotal for military operations, but also played crucial roles in espionage, counterintelligence, and information-gathering strategies that shaped Soviet responses to threats both on the battlefield and beyond. One of the foundational strategies of Stalin's espionage was the use of the NKVD, the Soviet secret police that also managed intelligence operations. The NKVD was instrumental in infiltrating foreign governments, gathering crucial intelligence about enemy plans, and even engaging in covert operations that would undermine adversaries. Stalin understood that information was power, and his control over the NKVD allowed for the establishment of a multifaceted network devoted to surveillance and intelligence acquisition. A significant element of the Soviet espionage efforts during the war was their ability to cultivate relationships with spies from various countries. Notably, the Soviets worked to recruit individuals who had access to important political or military information, either through coercion, ideological alignment, or financial incentives. This effort was particularly evident in Europe, where agents positioned themselves close to the circles of power in Nazi Germany and its allies. One fascinating case involved a woman named Ursula Kuczynski, who operated within the British intelligence community while secretly passing vital information to the Soviet Union. Another strategy employed by Stalin was the establishment of a well-organized network of illegal intelligence operations abroad. These operations often involved sleeper agents, individuals placed in vital sectors who would blend in and gather information over an extended period. This approach allowed the Soviet intelligence apparatus to maintain a constant flow of information, rather than relying solely on immediate or short-term intelligence gathering. The use of technology was also crucial in the operations run by Soviet intelligence. The Soviets developed means for intercepting enemy communications, which included monitoring radio traffic and decrypting coded messages. The intelligence gathered from these communications often provided early warnings of enemy movements and intentions. In one well-documented case, Soviet intelligence broke several German codes, granting them insights that proved invaluable during key battles, such as the Battle of Stalingrad. Moreover, the Great Patriotic War sparked an unprecedented level of collaboration among Soviet intelligence services. The cooperation between the GRU, the Military Intelligence Agency, and the NKVD was intensified. This collaboration saw the creation of joint operations that coordinated military and intelligence strategies, ensuring that spies and agents were deployed where they could be most effective. This unity of purpose allowed Stalin's regime to streamline operations, making the entire intelligence community far more efficient. The Soviets also operated a network of seemingly benign trade organizations and cultural exchanges, which served as covers for their espionage activities. Disguised as diplomatic missions or cultural ambassadors, these agents would often gather intelligence while building legitimacy and influence in foreign nations. These operations allowed the Soviets to recruit local contacts and informants, expanding their reach into various countries. Through propaganda and disinformation, the Soviet intelligence community also sought to confuse and mislead enemy forces. This tactic was particularly effective, as false information could cause panic and miscalculation among enemy ranks. The ability to create a smokescreen of ambiguity often allowed Soviet forces to outmaneuver those who underestimated their strategic capabilities. In addition, the counterintelligence aspect of Stalin's network was especially rigorous. The Soviet Union operated under the belief that misinformation and the discovery of enemy operations were equally as important as collecting data. Measures such as double agents, where an enemy spy worked for the Soviets while still loyal to their original cause, were employed to feed deception back to adversaries. This ongoing game of cat and mouse often played out in a high-stakes arena, with both sides intricately probing for weaknesses. Post-war, the legacy of Stalin's spy network continued to evolve and adapt. The successes achieved during World War II created a framework that would influence Soviet espionage practices for decades to come. This legacy included the establishment of institutions that would forever reshape intelligence operations, including the KGB. In conclusion, the strategies and operations of Stalin's spy network during World War II illustrate a multifaceted approach toward intelligence gathering and counterintelligence that played a crucial role in shaping the Soviet military's effectiveness. Through the use of technology, extensive recruitment, creative cover operations, and robust counterintelligence, the Soviet intelligence community navigated an intricate web of information that allowed the Soviet Union to react swiftly to the evolving landscape of warfare. The efforts of this sophisticated spy network contributed significantly to the outcomes of numerous battles and ultimately to the course of the war itself, leaving a profound legacy in the field of intelligence that would endure long after the conflict ended. Operation Cyclone was one of the largest and most ambitious covert operations in the history of the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. Launched in the late 1970s and continuing into the 1980s, the operation aimed to support Afghan Mujahideen fighters during the Soviet-Afghan War, a conflict that began when Soviet troops invaded Afghanistan in December 1979. This narrative explores the complexities, motivations, and consequences of the support provided to the Mujahideen by the United States and its allies. As the Cold War intensified, the United States sought to counter Soviet influence around the globe. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan was seen as a direct threat to both regional stability and U.S. interests. In this context, the CIA designed Operation Cyclone to funnel substantial financial and military support to Afghan resistance groups. The primary goal was to undermine the Soviet presence and destabilize their occupation. For nearly a decade, the CIA funneled an estimated $1 billion in aid to the Mujahideen. This substantial amount was complemented by significant contributions from other nations, notably Pakistan, which acted as the primary conduit for delivering the U.S. support into Afghanistan. The aid included not just financial resources, but also sophisticated weapons systems, training, and logistical support. The decision to provide military assistance was part of a broader strategy to empower groups that were defending their homeland against foreign invasion. One of the most notable elements of Operation Cyclone was the introduction of advanced weaponry. Among these were shoulder-fired missile systems, the Stinger missile being the most famous. The Stinger provided the Mujahideen with the means to effectively counter Soviet air power, fundamentally altering the dynamics of combat on the ground. The success of these weapons not only boosted the morale of the Mujahideen, but also had a significant impact on the battlefield, allowing the fighters to shoot down helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft, thereby crippling Soviet operational capabilities. The strategy employed by the United States was initially based on the idea of proxy warfare. By arming and aiding the Mujahideen, the U.S. hoped to engage the Soviet Union in a costly quagmire similar to the Vietnam War. The Mujahideen fighters were a diverse group with differing ideological backgrounds, ranging from Islamic fundamentalists to secular nationalists. However, their common goal united them in a fierce resistance against the Soviet forces. The American support often came entangled with various geopolitical interests. The U.S. was not only combating Soviet power but also working alongside Pakistan, which had its objectives in the region. The Inter-Services Intelligence Agency of Pakistan played a crucial role in selecting which Mujahideen factions received support, leading to a proliferation of different groups receiving backing based on their alignment with Islamabad's interests. This complicated relationship often meant that certain extremist factions received more attention than secular or moderate groups. As the war dragged on, the situation in Afghanistan became increasingly complex. The prolonged conflict led to massive displacement, widespread destruction, and an estimated 2 million Afghan deaths. Cities were devastated, and the countryside faced relentless bombardment. During the course of this conflict, the U.S. media presented the portrayal of Afghan fighters as heroic warriors engaged in a noble struggle against a formidable adversary, capturing the imagination and support of the American public. Operation Cyclone began to lose its prominence once the Soviet Union withdrew its troops from Afghanistan in 1989. The geopolitical landscape rapidly changed with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War. While the U.S. had successfully achieved its objective of countering Soviet influence, the aftermath of the conflict left Afghanistan in turmoil. With U.S. support diminishing, various factions vied for power, leading to a civil war. As the 1990s progressed, Afghanistan experienced further conflict, eventually paving the way for the rise of the Taliban, an extremist group that would impose its strict interpretation of Islamic law. The consequences of the intervention during Operation Cyclone were far-reaching. While the operation was initially hailed as a strategic success, the complexities of Afghan society and the extraction of external support left a legacy that continues to affect the region to this day. Years later, the U.S. would find itself returning to Afghanistan following the September 11th attacks, facing the consequences of a fractured society and the resurgence of extremism. The lessons learned from Operation Cyclone have continued to resonate throughout U.S. foreign policy, highlighting the intricate relationship between intervention, support of armed groups, and the long-term impact on local and global dynamics. In retrospect, Operation Cyclone stands as a testament to the complexities of international relations, highlighting how external support can shape conflicts in ways that are often unpredictable. The operation exemplifies the notion that while short-term goals may be achieved, the long-term consequences of intervention can have profound and lasting ramifications. It serves as a reminder of the intricate ties between geopolitical strategy, human struggles, and the unpredictable paths of nations caught in conflict.